The handcuffs clicked shut around Victoria Chen's wrists, with a sound that made 200 officers go silent. Lieutenant Commander Brad Hutchins stood there, chest puffed out, phone streaming live to 50,000 followers, watching what he thought was justice. He had no idea he'd just arrested one of the most lethal operators in Naval Special Warfare history, a woman whose confirmed kills numbered higher than his entire unit combined, a ghost who'd died twice on paper and kept fighting. In 47 minutes, his career would be over. Hers was about to go public. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now let's get into what really happened that night. The Officers Club at Naval Air Station Oceana smelled like polished wood and old glory. Every Friday night, the place filled with Navy brass, celebrating another week survived, another mission completed, another step closer to retirement. Tonight was different, though. Tonight was Admiral Thomas Crawford's retirement ceremony, and that meant the room held enough stars and eagles to launch a small war. Victoria Chen sat alone at a corner table, her back to the wall, eyes tracking every entrance without seeming to look at anything at all. She wore black jeans and a leather jacket that had seen better days, nursing a glass of sparkling water, like it was something stronger. Most people wouldn't have noticed her. Most people weren't trained to spot predators. But Brad Hutchins noticed. He'd been celebrating for 3 hours now, riding high on adrenaline and beer after his squadron's successful anti-piracy operation off Somalia. 29 years old, SEAL trident bright on his chest, and absolutely certain he knew what valor looked like. When he spotted the tattoo on Victoria's wrist, partially hidden by a silver bracelet, but unmistakably a SEAL trident, something in his gut twisted. "Hey, Cortez," he said to the man next to him, nodding toward Victoria. "Check out corner table. Civilian wearing our ink." Lieutenant Jake Cortez, younger and drunker, squinted across the room. "Could be a wife, girlfriend. They get tattoos sometimes. Look at her build. Look at her posture." Hutchins felt his jaw tighten. "She wants us to think she's one of us." Maybe she is. Women weren't in SEALs until 2016, and even then, Hutchins stood up, decision made. "I'm gonna find out." Cortez grabbed his phone, already sensing something worth recording. This gonna be good. This gonna be justice. They crossed the room like wolves approaching wounded prey, 2 other junior officers falling in behind them. Victoria saw them coming. Of course she saw them coming, but she didn't move. Didn't even shift her weight. She just took another sip of water and waited. "Excuse me, ma'am." Hutchins planted himself in front of her table, blocking her exit. His tone dripped false politeness. "Couldn't help but notice your ink. That's some interesting body art you got there." Victoria looked up at him with eyes that had seen things he couldn't imagine. Dark brown, almost black, and completely empty of fear. "Can I help you with something? Just curious where you served." "That's a SEAL trident on your wrist, yeah. Pretty specific tattoo for someone who's not in uniform." "I'm here for the ceremony. I'm not looking for conversation." Hutchins laughed, and several nearby tables turned to watch. "That's not what I asked. See, that symbol means something. It's earned through blood and sweat and hell. So I'm going to ask you one more time, where exactly did you serve?" "That's not your business." "Not my—" Hutchins felt heat rise in his chest. Behind him, Cortez had his phone up, now recording. "Ma'am, stolen valor is a federal crime. If you're wearing that ink and didn't earn it, you're looking at serious charges." Victoria set down her glass with careful precision. "I've never misrepresented myself to anyone. But you're wearing a SEAL trident. You're sitting in an officers' club surrounded by real operators. That's representation right there." "I have a tattoo. I'm having a drink. I haven't claimed anything." Petty Officer Marcus Webb, the third man in Hutchins' group, leaned in with a smirk. "Funny thing is, we can actually check. What was your BUDS class? Your instructor, hell. Just tell us what phase you dropped in, and we'll leave you alone." "I'm not authorized to discuss operational details." The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Hutchins' laugh came out sharp and mean. "Operational details. Oh, this is perfect. You're actually committing to the story." He turned to address the growing crowd, voice rising. Everyone hear that we got ourselves genuine stolen valor in progress. She's got operational details she can't discuss. Victoria's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around her glass. A muscle in her jaw twitched once, then went still. You should walk away now. Or what? You gonna call for backup? Let me save you the trouble. Hutchins pulled out his own phone, switching to Instagram Live. Hey everyone, Brad Hutchins here at NAS Oceana. Got a situation developing. This woman's wearing a seal trident tattoo sitting in our officers' club, claiming she can't discuss her operational details. Anyone else smell fraud? The comments started flooding in immediately. Hundreds, then thousands of people watching, weighing in, demanding justice. Victoria watched the phone, watched the red recording light, and something shifted in her expression. Not fear, calculation. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. The only mistake was you thinking you could pull this con on actual SEALs. Hutchins reached out and grabbed her shoulder, spinning her to face him directly. You want to play dress up? Do it somewhere else. This is our house. Victoria's hand moved so fast most people missed it. A reflexive block stopped halfway, pulled back with visible effort. For just a second, Hutchins saw something in her eyes that made his drunk bravado flicker. Something cold and professional and absolutely lethal. Then it was gone, and she was just a woman in civilian clothes being hassled in a bar. Take your hand off me, she said. Or what? Sir, I strongly suggest you step back. But Hutchins was too far gone now, too committed, too certain of his righteousness and his audience. His grip tightened. You think you can disrespect everything we've worked for, everything we've sacrificed. I lost friends earning this trident. Good men who died doing this job. And you're sitting here playing pretend. I said take your hand off me. Make me fraud. The tension in the room ratcheted up to breaking point. Officers were standing now, phones out, some looking concerned, others eager for the confrontation. Victoria remained seated, but her body had changed. Every muscle coiled ready. Those who knew what to look for recognized a weapon being aimed. Master-at-Arms Chief Sarah Patterson had been watching from the bar for the last 3 minutes, her cop instincts screaming that something was off about this whole situation. She'd seen plenty of stolen valor cases in her 15 years. They had a type. They blustered, they made excuses, they tried to bullshit their way out with half-remembered jargon from movies. This woman did none of that. She sat there like a coiled spring, like something that had learned perfect stillness in places where movement meant death. Patterson pushed through the crowd. Everyone step back, now. Hutchins didn't let go. Chief, this woman's... I said step back, Lieutenant Commander, that's an order. Hutchins released Victoria's shoulder but didn't move away. Chief Patterson, I'm formally accusing this woman of stolen valor. She's wearing SEAL insignia, she's implying military service, and she's refusing to provide any verification. Patterson looked at Victoria, really looked at her. The woman's breathing was controlled, too controlled. Her posture was textbook tactical positioning. And her eyes. Patterson had seen those eyes before, on combat veterans, on people who'd killed and watched friends die and somehow kept functioning. Ma'am, I'm Chief Patterson, Base Security. I need to ask you some questions. Ask them. Can you provide identification? Victoria reached slowly for her jacket pocket, moving with deliberate care to show she wasn't reaching for a weapon. She produced a driver's license and handed it over. Virginia State ID, Victoria Chen. Age 34. Civilian address in Norfolk. Are you claiming military service, Ms. Chen? I attended a ceremony tonight, that's all. But you have a military tattoo. I have a tattoo. That's personal. Hutchins jumped in. Chief, she literally said she couldn't discuss operational details. She's pretending to be. I'll handle this, Lieutenant Commander. Patterson turned back to Victoria. Ms. Chen, that's a very specific tattoo. It represents Naval Special Warfare. Can you explain how you came to have it? It's personal. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I'm authorized to give. There it was again. That phrasing. Authorized. Not willing to give or going to give. Authorized. Like someone still bound by regulations, still operating under rules most people never even knew existed. Patterson made a decision. Ms. Chen, I'm going to need you to come with me to the security office. We can sort this out there away from the crowd. Am I under arrest? I'm detaining you for questioning regarding possible stolen valor violations. You have the right to remain silent. I know my rights. Victoria stood slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. I want to make a phone call. You'll have that opportunity at the security office. I need to make it now. Naval Special Warfare Command, Vice Admiral Richard Blackwood. The name landed like a bomb in the conversation. Blackwood wasn't just any admiral, he was a legend. 3 tours in Iraq, former DevGru commander, the man who'd architected half of modern special operations doctrine. He didn't take calls from random civilians. Hutchins burst out laughing. A vice admiral, you're claiming you can just call up Vice Admiral Blackwood? Oh man, this keeps getting better. He panned his phone around, still streaming. 53,000 watching now, guys. This is going to be epic. Patterson pulled out handcuffs. We'll verify your request at the security office. Turn around, please. Victoria complied without resistance, hands behind her back. The cuffs clicked shut too tight. Patterson noticed, adjusted for a larger person, but Victoria didn't flinch, didn't complain. Just stood there with that same eerie calm, while 200 officers watched and dozens of phones recorded. This is harassment, someone called from the crowd, a woman's voice sharp with anger. You're arresting her for having a tattoo. She's being detained for questioning, Patterson clarified. Not arrested. Looks like an arrest to me. Ma'am, please step back. What's your name? The woman pushed forward her own phone out. I want your badge number. This is gender discrimination, plain and simple. If she was a man, you wouldn't... This has nothing to do with gender, Hutchins snapped. This is about stolen valor, about respecting, about you being a drunk asshole who couldn't leave someone alone. The crowd was fracturing now, some supporting Hutchins, others defending Victoria, most just recording for social media. Patterson could feel the situation spiraling out of control. She needed to get Victoria out of here before this turned into something uglier. Everyone back up. Give us room. Patterson took Victoria's arm gently, professionally, and started guiding her toward the exit. Let's go, Ms. Chen. Victoria moved with her, fluid and cooperative. But as they passed Hutchins, she stopped for just a second, looked at him with those dark, empty eyes. You have 46 minutes, she said quietly. I'd recommend you use them to contact a lawyer. Is that a threat? It's advice, free advice, from someone who knows what's coming. Then Patterson was moving her again, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. Behind them, Hutchins was already back on his phone, narrating for his audience. So we got her detained, guys. Chief Patterson's taking her in for questioning. This is what happens when you disrespect the uniform. When you pretend to be something you're not. Justice is coming. The comments flooded in, thousands of them. Some calling for maximum prosecution, others screaming about misogyny. Veterans groups weighing in, feminist bloggers picking up the stream. Within 5 minutes, Hutchins' video had been shared 3,000 times. Within 10 minutes, it was trending. Within 15 news outlets were calling NAS Oceana's public affairs office. And Victoria Chen, hands cuffed behind her back, walked calmly through the Friday night air toward a security office interrogation room, her silver bracelet catching streetlight as they moved. On that bracelet, barely visible, a series of numbers were engraved, NS17C 2019, and below them, a single word, Trident. The security office was standard military institutional fluorescent lights, concrete block walls, metal furniture bolted to the floor. Patterson led Victoria into interview room 2 and helped her into a chair, then removed the cuffs. You want water, coffee? Water's fine. Patterson left briefly, returned with a bottle, set it on the table. Victoria didn't touch it, just sat there, hands folded back, straight eyes on the door. Patterson noticed she'd positioned the chair at a slight angle, giving her clear sight lines to both the entrance and the room's only window. Ms. Chen, before we begin, I want to be clear, you're not under arrest. You're being detained for questioning. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. Do you understand these rights? Yes. Do you want an attorney present? I want to make my phone call. We'll get to that. First, I need to ask some basic questions. Full name: Victoria Ann Chen. Date of birth: March 14th, 1991. Current address. Victoria rattled off a Norfolk address. Patterson wrote it down, noting how the woman's voice never wavered, never showed stress. Most people in interrogation rooms fidgeted, avoided eye contact, showed some sign of nervousness. Victoria could have been ordering coffee. Ms. Chen, have you ever served in the United States military? I need to make my phone call first. You'll have that opportunity, but I need to establish some basic facts first. Have you ever served? I'm not authorized to answer that without proper clearance verification. There it was again, that phrasing. Patterson leaned forward. Ms. Chen, I'm going to be straight with you. That's a strange way for a civilian to talk. Normal people say, I don't want to answer, or I refuse to answer. They don't say they're not authorized. That suggests you're bound by something. Regulations, security protocols, things that apply to service members. Victoria met her eyes directly. Then maybe you should be asking why I'm bound by those things. So you're confirming you have military service. I'm confirming that I know my rights and my obligations. And my obligation right now is to contact higher authority before discussing anything related to my background. Patterson sat back, studying her. This wasn't how stolen valor cases went. Frauds crumbled under questioning. They made mistakes, contradicted themselves, eventually admitted the truth. This woman wasn't crumbling. She was operating according to some playbook Patterson couldn't see. The door opened. Hutchins walked in without knocking, his face flushed, phone still in his hand. Chief, my feed's up to 87,000 viewers. News channels are calling me for interviews. This is going national. Lieutenant Commander, you can't be in here during... I'm the primary witness. I have a right to be present. No, you don't. This is my investigation. You need to... With respect, Chief, this is bigger than a routine interview now. This woman's facing federal charges. I want to make sure she doesn't... Get out. Patterson stood, putting herself between Hutchins and Victoria. Now, that's an order. Hutchins bristled but backed toward the door. Fine, but I'm filing a formal complaint. This woman committed a crime. Multiple crimes. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what happened here tonight. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Patterson took a breath, centered herself, turned back to Victoria. Sorry about that. Don't be. He's doing what he thinks is right. You're defending him. I'm understanding him. There's a difference. Victoria shifted slightly in her chair. He thinks he's protecting something sacred, military honor, the trident, brotherhood. He's wrong about me, but he's not wrong about the principle. Stolen valor is real. It does damage, and it deserves to be called out. Patterson sat back down slowly. That's a very generous interpretation. It's an accurate one. Anger doesn't make someone evil, just human. Even when it's directed at you unfairly. Victoria's expression didn't change. I've had worse directed at me with much better aim. The comment landed odd specific. Patterson caught it, filed it away. What does that mean? It means I need to make my phone call, please. Patterson considered. Technically, Victoria was right. She had the right to contact someone. And if she was telling the truth about knowing Vice Admiral Blackwood, that call would end this whole situation quickly. And if she was lying, it would prove she was a fraud. Okay, I'll get you a phone. But Ms. Chen, if you're making this up, if you don't actually have a connection to Nav Spec Warcom, you're just digging yourself deeper. I understand. Patterson left the room, made her way to her office, pulled out a secure phone. She dialed the main number for Naval Special Warfare Command, got routed through 3 different operators, finally reached someone in the command duty office. This is Master-at-Arms Chief Patterson, NAS Oceana Security. I have a detained individual requesting contact with Vice Admiral Blackwood. Claims it's urgent. Silence on the other end. Then, what's the individual's name? Victoria Chen, civilian, age 34, Virginia resident. She's being questioned regarding potential stolen valor violations. More silence. Longer this time. Patterson could hear typing in the background, computer keys clicking rapidly. Chief Patterson, hold please. The line went quiet. Not hold music, just dead air. Patterson waited. 1 minute, 2, 3. She was about to hang up and try again when a different voice came on the line. Male, older, with an edge that suggested authority. Chief Patterson, this is Commander Ryan Park, Naval Spec War Staff. You said Victoria Chen. Yes, sir. Describe her. 5'6", approximately 130 pounds, athletic build, short dark hair, brown eyes, early 30s. Has a seal trident tattoo on her left wrist. Another pause. Where is she now? Interview room at base security. She's requesting contact with Vice Admiral Blackwood. Is she under arrest? Detained for questioning. On what grounds? Possible stolen valor. She was at the officers' club wearing the tattoo, and when questioned about her service, she refused to provide details. I see. The commander's tone had gone flat, carefully neutral. Chief, I need you to listen carefully. Do not question her further. Do not allow anyone else to speak with her, and keep her location secure. We're sending someone. Patterson's stomach dropped. Sir, is she actually? Keep her secure. Someone will be there within the hour. And Chief, I strongly suggest you review your security footage from tonight. Make sure it's backed up. Multiple copies. The line went dead. Patterson stood there holding the phone, her mind racing. That wasn't the response she'd expected. If Victoria was a fraud, the command duty officer would have said so immediately, would have told Patterson to charge her and move on. Instead, he'd said send someone. Keep her secure. Back up the footage. Like Victoria Chen was something precious. Something classified. Something that needed protection rather than prosecution. Patterson returned to the interview room. Victoria hadn't moved. Still sat in that same position, hands folded, breathing steady. Your call is being processed. Command said someone's coming. Vice Admiral Blackwood. They didn't specify, but they said within the hour. Patterson sat down across from her. Ms. Chen, I'm going to ask you something off the record, and I'd appreciate an honest answer. Not for the investigation, for me. What's that? Am I about to get my ass handed to me for this detention? Victoria's expression softened almost imperceptibly. No, you did your job correctly. You responded to a credible accusation. You followed proper procedure. No one's going to fault you for that. But Lieutenant Commander Hutchins is going to wish he'd kept drinking and stayed away from my table. Why? Because in about, Victoria glanced at the wall clock, in 38 minutes, everyone in that officers' club is going to understand what he actually did tonight, and it's not what he thinks. Patterson leaned forward. Help me understand something. If you're legitimate, if you actually have service, why not just say so? Why make this difficult? Because my service isn't about making things easy. It's about following protocols. And those protocols say I don't discuss operational details without proper clearance verification. Ever. Even if it costs me. Even if it means getting arrested. I'm not arrested. I'm detained. There's a difference. Seems like semantics. Seems like law. Victoria picked up the water bottle, took a small sip. Chief, can I give you some advice? Woman to woman. Sure. When whoever's coming gets here, don't apologize. Don't make excuses. You did your job. Own that. The military respects competence more than it respects people who grovel. You sound like you know from experience. I sound like someone who's learned hard lessons about when to stand tall and when to bend. Before Patterson could respond, her radio crackled. Chief, we've got a situation at the front gate. Security alert. 3 vehicles requesting immediate access. They've got special clearance codes. Patterson grabbed her radio. Copy. What kind of vehicles? Black SUVs. Government plates. The lead vehicle has... Chief, I'm seeing flags. Multiple stars. Patterson's blood went cold. How many stars? 3, Chief. Vice Admiral flags. Victoria stood slowly. That would be Admiral Blackwood. Right on schedule. You might want to uncuff me before he gets here. You're not cuffed. No. But you'll probably want to make sure Hutchins is nowhere near this building when the Admiral arrives. Why? Victoria looked at her with something that might have been pity. Because whatever happens next, Hutchins is going to make it worse. He's angry, he's drunk, he's been performing for a crowd all night, and Vice Admiral Blackwood doesn't perform, he executes. Patterson's radio crackled again. Chief, the convoy's at the security office. Admiral's on his way in, 2 armed personnel with him. And, Chief, there's a JAG officer. This is looking official. Patterson moved to the door, then stopped looking back at Victoria. Whatever happens, I just want you to know I was doing my job. I know. That's why you're not the one in trouble. Then Patterson was moving out into the hallway toward the front entrance where 3 black SUVs had pulled up with enough authority to make her 15 years of service feel suddenly very small. The door burst open. Vice Admiral Richard Blackwood walked in like a storm, given human form, 58 years old, silver hair cut high and tight, 3 stars on his collar and a chest full of ribbons that told stories most people would never know. Behind him came 2 armed personnel in tactical gear, and a woman in Navy service dress blues with JAG insignia. Blackwood's eyes swept the room, locked onto Patterson. Where is she? Interview room 2, sir. She's... Blackwood was already moving his detail, falling in behind him. Patterson scrambled to follow her mind spinning. She'd never seen a vice admiral respond personally to anything, let alone a stolen valor detention at a random officers' club. Blackwood pushed open the interview room door. Victoria stood when he entered. Admiral. Commander Chen. The rank fell like a hammer. Are you injured? No, sir. Did anyone harm you? No, sir. Good. Blackwood turned to Patterson, his expression carved from granite. Chief, who authorized this detention? Patterson's mouth went dry. I did, sir, based on a credible accusation of... Who made the accusation? Lieutenant Commander Brad Hutchins, sir. Seal assigned to... I know who he is. Where is he now? He was here earlier, sir. Left about 15 minutes ago. I believe he returned to the officers' club. Something flickered in Blackwood's eyes. Get him, now, and get base command on the phone. I want the O-Club shut down, all footage secured, and everyone who witnessed the initial confrontation held for statements. Sir, That's an order, Chief. Execute it. Patterson grabbed her radio, started issuing commands. Her hands were shaking. Behind Blackwood, the JAG officer Commander Lisa Park, according to her name tape, pulled out a tablet and started taking notes. Blackwood moved to Victoria, studying her face with an intensity that suggested he was checking for injuries beyond the physical. Tell me what happened. Everything. Victoria recited the evening's events in precise clinical detail. No emotion, just facts. Times, locations, statements. When she got to the part where Hutchins grabbed her shoulder, Blackwood's jaw tightened. He put hands on you. Yes, sir. And you didn't respond. I controlled the response, sir. It seemed appropriate given the circumstances. You shouldn't have had to control anything. Blackwood looked at Patterson. Is this true? Did Lieutenant Commander Hutchins physically grab Commander Chen? Patterson nodded, unable to speak. While she was in civilian clothes, sitting peacefully at a table, bothering no one. Yes, sir. But he believed... I don't care what he believed. I care what he did. Blackwood pulled out his phone, made a call. Get me the base commander, now. He waited maybe 10 seconds. Tom, it's Blackwood. I'm at your security office. We have a problem. One of your SEALs just assaulted one of mine. In public, while live streaming it. I need you here immediately. He hung up. Looked at Victoria. Uncuff her. Sir, she's not... Patterson started. Chief, that woman has killed more enemy combatants than everyone in this building combined. She's been shot 4 times, blown up twice, and has more confirmed operations than most SEALs complete in entire careers. Whatever you think she is, you're wrong. Now uncuff her. She's not cuffed, sir. Then get her out of that chair. Get her water, food, whatever she needs. And someone find me Brad Hutchins before I have to go looking for him myself. The room erupted into motion. Patterson felt like she was watching a building collapse in slow motion, understanding too late that she'd been standing on the fault line. Commander Park approached Victoria. Ma'am, I'm going to need a full statement. Everything that happened, everyone who was involved. We'll also need access to your medical records, service records, anything that establishes your operational history. Victoria shook her head. Most of that's classified above top secret SCI. You won't have access. I have clearance for not high enough, not for Ghost Unit operations. The words Ghost Unit hung in the air like smoke. Park's expression shifted. She'd heard rumors, apparently. Everyone had. But rumors and confirmation were different things. Patterson grabbed Blackwood's arm without thinking. Sir, I need to understand what's happening. Who is she? Blackwood looked at Patterson's hand on his arm, then at her face. She released him immediately, stepped back. Chief, how much of tonight was recorded? Multiple phones, sir, and Hutchins was live streaming the entire confrontation. To how many viewers? Last I heard, over 100,000. It's trending on multiple platforms. Blackwood closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, they held something close to resignation. Then her cover's blown. After 8 years of classified operations after sacrifice, most people can't comprehend her identity's compromised because some drunk SEAL wanted to go viral. Sir, if she's really... Patterson couldn't finish the sentence. She's really... Trust me, Chief. You did your job. You did it correctly. But you just detained one of the most highly decorated female operators in Naval Special Warfare history. A woman whose missions are so classified, I'm not sure even I know all of them. And now, thanks to Lieutenant Commander Hutchins's Instagram feed, the world knows she exists. Patterson felt her legs go weak. Oh, God. Yeah, Blackwood looked at Victoria, something like sorrow in his expression. I'm sorry, Commander. I know you wanted to stay Ghost, but that option's off the table now. Victoria's expression didn't change. Operational reality, sir. We adapt. We do, but you shouldn't have to. Not like this. The door slammed open. Lieutenant Commander Brad Hutchins walked in, still holding his phone, still streaming. His expression was triumphant. Admiral Blackwood, I'm glad you're here. I want to file a formal complaint about... Blackwood's voice cut through the room like a blade. Turn that phone off. Sir, I'm documenting... Turn it off, or I will have you physically restrained and your phone confiscated as evidence. You have 3 seconds to decide. Hutchins' confidence flickered. He glanced at Victoria, at Patterson, back to Blackwood. Then slowly, reluctantly, he ended the stream. Sir, with respect, I have a right to... You have no rights at this moment except to remain silent, which I strongly suggest you exercise. Blackwood stepped closer to Hutchins, close enough that the younger man had to look up to meet his eyes. Lieutenant Commander, do you know who you arrested tonight? A fraud, sir. Someone pretending to be Commander Victoria Chen. 8 years Naval Special Warfare. Multiple classified operations across 3 continents. Navy Cross recipient. Purple Heart with 3 clusters. More confirmed hostile kills than you'll achieve in your entire career. Currently holding security clearances above top secret that you don't even know exist. The color drained from Hutchins' face. And you... Blackwood continued, his voice dropping to something quieter and infinitely more dangerous. Put hands on her, while drunk, in public, while broadcasting her face and identity to 100,000 people. Do you have any concept of what you've done? Hutchins tried to speak. Nothing came out. Let me explain it to you, Blackwood said. Commander Chen operated under deep cover protocols. Her identity was classified for her protection and for national security. There are people in at least 4 countries who would love to know her real name and face. People she's put in prison. People whose friends she's killed. People who would pay significant money for revenge. She didn't say because she couldn't say. Because unlike you, she understands operational security. Unlike you, she knows when to keep her mouth shut and follow protocol. Blackwood took a breath, visibly controlling himself. Commander Park read Lieutenant Commander Hutchins his rights under the UCMJ. I want him charged with unauthorized disclosure of classified information, violation of operational security, assault conduct, unbecoming an officer, and anything else you can make stick. Park stepped forward. Lieutenant Commander Brad Hutchins, you are hereby informed that you are suspected of committing offenses under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The formal recitation of rights continued. Hutchins stood there, swaying slightly, his face going from pale to green. Patterson watched it all unfold, still trying to process. Victoria Chen, Commander, Navy Cross, Ghost Unit Operations. The woman she'd handcuffed and dragged into an interrogation room was one of the most lethal warriors in American military history. And Brad Hutchins had grabbed her, insulted her, and broadcast her face to the world because he thought she was a fraud. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so catastrophically destructive. Hutchins finally found his voice. "Sir, I was trying to protect. I thought she was disrespecting." "You thought wrong," Blackwood said. "And your thinking, your assumptions, your need for viral fame, all of it just potentially endangered a national security asset and definitely destroyed your career. Congratulations, Lieutenant Commander. You played yourself. Admiral, please. Get him out of my sight," Blackwood said to Park. "Process him, charge him, and inform JAG I want maximum prosecution. This isn't going away quietly." Two MPs moved forward, took Hutchins by the arms. He looked back at Victoria, something like desperation in his eyes. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. I couldn't have known." Victoria finally spoke. "You could have walked away. That was always an option. You chose confrontation. You chose humiliation. You chose broadcast. Those were your decisions. Now you live with the consequences." They let him out. His phone remained on the table where Park had confiscated it, evidence of his own destruction. The room went quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Patterson stood there trying to figure out how the evening had gone from routine retirement ceremony to national security incident in under 2 hours. Blackwood turned to her. "Chief Patterson, you did your job correctly. I want that on the record. You responded appropriately to what appeared to be a legitimate accusation. You followed proper procedure. None of this is on you. But I detained her. I handcuffed You detained someone who refused to provide verification of identity when accused of a federal crime. That's exactly what you should have done." He paused. "Though I am curious what made you call us." "She asked to. Specifically requested you by name." "And you believed her?" "No, sir. But I figured if she was lying, the call would prove it. And if she was telling the truth..." Patterson looked at Victoria. "I guess I wanted to know which it was." "Fair enough." Blackwood checked his watch. "All right. Commander Park, I need you to contact NSA. Get that live stream scrubbed from as many platforms as possible. I know we can't get it all, but minimize the damage. Chief Patterson, I need all footage from tonight. Security cameras, body cameras, everything. Multiple copies, secured location." "Yes, sir." "And someone get me the base commander. We need to have a very serious conversation about social media policies for personnel." People scattered, executing orders. Within minutes, the security office had transformed from quiet Friday night routine to crisis response headquarters. Victoria remained still through all of it, standing against the wall, watching the chaos unfold around her without expression. Patterson caught herself studying the woman, looking for signs of the warrior Blackwood described. The kills, the combat, the operations. But all she saw was someone tired. Someone who'd been fighting for so long that stillness had become her natural state. Patterson approached slowly. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. If I'd known..." "You couldn't have known. That was the point." Victoria's expression softened slightly. "And you treated me with respect, even when you thought I was a fraud. That matters. Did I hurt you?" The cuffs were tight. "I've had worse." "That's not really an answer." Victoria smiled just barely. "No, you didn't hurt me. And even if you had, it would have been acceptable under the circumstances. You were doing your job. But your cover's blown now, because of tonight, because of what Hutchins did." "Yes. And that matters operationally. It means I can't go back to certain work, can't operate in certain regions, can't be the ghost anymore." Victoria looked at the wall clock. "But it also means I don't have to hide. For the first time in 8 years, I can just be Victoria Chen. Regular person, normal life. Maybe that's not such a bad thing." "You don't sound convinced." "I'm not, but I'm trying to be." Blackwood rejoined them, his phone pressed to his ear, issuing rapid-fire orders to someone. When he hung up, he looked at Victoria with something like sympathy. It's spreading faster than we can contain it. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, every platform. News outlets are picking it up. Secret female Navy SEAL arrested by mistake. Stolen valor accusation backfires. It's going viral. Expected, Victoria said. What's the official response? Pentagon Public Affairs is drafting a statement, something vague about confirming your service without confirming details. But Vic, they want you to do an interview. Controlled environment, vetted questions. They think you could be good for recruitment. Show women that these opportunities exist. No. I told them you'd say that. Then why ask? Because they outrank me. And because... Blackwood paused. Because maybe they're right. Maybe this could be something positive, something that inspires the next generation. Victoria shook her head. I didn't serve for inspiration. I served because it needed doing. Making me a poster child doesn't honor that. It exploits it. Fair enough. But we still have a problem. You're out now, public, which means you're vulnerable. I can handle myself. Against trained operators with revenge motivations, maybe. Against media scrutiny, against everyone who wants a piece of your story. That's different combat. Patterson's radio crackled. Chief, we've got reporters at the front gate, multiple vehicles. They're demanding statements. Blackwood cursed under his breath. It's starting. Chief, lock down the base. No media access. No statements from anyone without going through me first. Yes, sir. And find me a secure location. Commander Chen needs protective custody until we figure out our next move. Victoria tensed. I don't need protection. You need anonymity, and you can't have that anymore. So yes, you need protection. Not from threats you can shoot. From threats you can't. Blackwood's expression was firm, but not unkind. Vic, your war changed tonight, whether you like it or not. And I'm not leaving you to fight it alone. For the first time since the handcuffs had clicked shut, Victoria's composure cracked, just slightly, just enough to show the person underneath the operator. How did it come to this? She asked quietly. 8 years of perfect operational security, 8 years of sacrifice, and it's destroyed in 90 minutes because some drunk SEAL wanted to be a hero. Not destroyed, Blackwood said. Changed, and you've adapted to worse. Have I? You're standing here, aren't you? After everything you've survived, every mission, every injury, you're still standing. This is just another mission. Different enemy. Same fight. Victoria nodded slowly, drew herself back together. When she spoke again, her voice had returned to that controlled calm. What do you need me to do? Right now, come with me. Secure facility, quiet space. We'll brief you on next steps tomorrow. And Hutchins? What about him? Go easy on him. Blackwood stared at her. You're joking. He thought he was right. He thought he was protecting something sacred. Yes, he was wrong. Yes, he caused damage. But intent matters. And his intent wasn't malicious, just misguided. Vic, he grabbed you. He broadcast your face. He did what he thought was justice. I can't fault the principle, even if I hate the execution. Victoria met his eyes. I'm not saying no consequences. I'm saying proportional consequences. He loses some rank, sometime learns a hard lesson. But don't destroy him. Don't make him the villain of this story. Why the hell not? Because we need people like him. People who care about honor, about protecting what matters. We just need to teach him to look before he strikes. That's correctable. Blackwood considered this. You're more generous than I would be. I'm more pragmatic. Destroying him makes him a martyr. Teaching him makes him better, which serves the mission more. Fine. I'll take it under advisement. Blackwood gestured toward the door. Come on, let's get you somewhere secure before this circus gets any bigger. They moved toward the exit. Patterson followed, still processing everything. At the door, Victoria stopped, turned back. Chief Patterson. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for treating me like a person tonight, even when you thought I was a fraud. That respect that matters more than you know. Patterson didn't know what to say. so she just nodded, throat tight. Then Victoria Chen, Ghost Unit Operator, Navy Cross recipient warrior, who'd served in shadows for 8 years, walked out into the Virginia night, where reporters and cameras and the entire weight of public scrutiny waited. Her war had changed, but she was still standing. And that, Patterson thought, was probably the most terrifying and inspiring thing she'd ever witnessed. The secure facility turned out to be a nondescript building 3 miles from base, the kind of place that looked like government storage but hummed with electronics and armed guards. Victoria sat in a windowless briefing room, drinking terrible coffee and watching Blackwood work 3 phones simultaneously, while Commander Park typed furiously on her laptop. NSA pulled down 63,000 copies of the video in the first hour, Park said without looking up. But estimates suggest over 2 million people saw it before we started scrubbing. Screenshots are everywhere. Her face is out there, Admiral. We can't put this back in the bottle. Blackwood set down one phone, immediately picked up another. Then we control the narrative. Get me public affairs. And someone tracked down the base commander. I want to know why his personnel are live streaming confrontations instead of maintaining operational security. Victoria set down her coffee. It won't matter. The story's already written. Secret female warrior wrongly arrested. It's got everything media loves: injustice, military drama, gender politics. They'll run with it regardless of what we say. Then what do you suggest? Let it run. Don't fight it. The more we push back, the more interesting we make it. Give them a boring official statement and move on. Park looked up. That leaves you exposed. I was exposed the moment Hutchins hit that live stream button. Fighting it just keeps me in headlines longer. Victoria leaned back in her chair. I've spent 8 years being invisible. Maybe visible is safer now. Harder to make someone disappear when everyone knows their face. Blackwood considered this, then nodded slowly. You might be right, but I don't like it. You don't have to like it, sir. You just have to accept it. The door opened. Captain Marcus Webb walked in, 52 years old, built like a fire hydrant, with the kind of face that had seen combat and decided it wasn't impressed. He'd been Victoria's team leader for 3 years, the man who'd pulled her out of that collapsed building in Kandahar, the man who knew exactly what she'd sacrificed. Commander Chen, his voice was gravel and whiskey. I was in Thailand when I got the call. Spent 14 hours on a transport getting here. Figured you might need someone who knows the real story. Victoria stood, something like relief crossing her face. Master Chief, you didn't have to. Yeah, I did. Webb moved to her, studied her face. You hurt Mo? No. They treat you right. Chief Patterson did her job, did it correctly. No complaints. Webb grunted, turned to Blackwood. Admiral, what's the play here? Damage control. Commander Chen's identity is compromised. We're working on securing her, managing media response, and figuring out long-term implications. And the SEAL who started this circus, being charged, multiple violations, JAG's handling it. Good. Webb looked back at Victoria. You want me to arrange an accident? Guy could fall down some stairs. Lots of stairs. Maybe twice. Victoria's lips twitched. No accidents, Master Chief. You sure I'm very good at accidents? I'm sure. Your call, but offer stands. Webb pulled up a chair, sat heavily. So what actually happened? Give me the whole thing. Victoria recounted the evening again, starting with the retirement ceremony and ending with her current location. Webb listened without interrupting, his expression darkening progressively. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then, you should have broken his arm. That would have made things worse. Maybe, but it would have felt better. Webb rubbed his face. 8 years, Vic. 8 years of perfect OPSEC. And some drunk kid with a phone throws it away in 90 minutes. You know what the worst part is? What? He probably thinks he was the victim here. Probably thinks we're the bad guys for coming down on him. People like that, they never see past their own righteousness. Park's laptop chimed. She read something, her face going pale. Admiral, we have a problem. Fox News just ran a segment. They're calling it Stolen Valor Hoax when accusers become the accused. They've got military analysts debating whether women should be in special operations at all. Christ. Blackwood grabbed the nearest phone. Get me the Pentagon press office, now. There's more, Park continued. Veterans groups are splitting. Some are supporting Commander Chen, some are supporting Hutchins. Social media is turning it into a proxy war about women in combat. And, she paused, someone leaked Hutchins' service record, his deployment history, his operations, everything. It's online. Webb stood. Who leaked it? Unknown. Posted anonymously to multiple forums about 2 hours ago. That's a court-martial offense. Blackwood stopped. Wait, who benefits from that leak? Park looked at Victoria. So did Webb. So did everyone in the room. Victoria's expression was unreadable. Wasn't me. But you have friends who might. I have friends who know better than to commit federal crimes on my behalf. Victoria stood, moved to the coffee pot, poured another cup with steady hands. If someone leaked his records, they did it on their own initiative, without my knowledge or approval. But it helps you, Park said. Shows his deployment history. Makes him look less credible when... It makes him look human, Victoria interrupted. Shows he's got a real service record, real deployments, real sacrifices. If anything, it makes the story more complicated, more sympathetic to him. Webb was studying her with that look he got when he knew she was hiding something. Vic, who'd you call? No one. You're lying. You're bad at lying. Who'd you call? Victoria set down her coffee cup with deliberate care. I made one phone call before I left the officers' club, to someone who owed me a favor. I told them what was happening. What I told them to do with that information is their business, not mine. What did you tell them to do? To protect the kid, make him human, make it harder for media to turn him into a monster. Victoria met Webb's eyes. He made a mistake, a big one, but I've made mistakes too. Difference is mine happened in classified operations, where only a handful of people know about them. His happened in public. He deserves some protection from that. Blackwood sat down slowly. You're protecting the man who destroyed your cover. I'm protecting a fellow operator who thought he was doing the right thing. That's what we do, sir. We protect each other, even when we're angry, even when it costs us. The room went quiet. Webb shook his head slowly. You're a better person than me, Commander. No, I'm just tired of seeing people destroyed. We destroy enough enemies. We don't need to destroy our own, too. Park's laptop chimed again. She read, then looked up with something like wonder. It's working. The leaked records, they're changing the narrative. People are seeing Hutchins as a real SEAL who made a judgment error, not some glory-seeking fraud hunter. The conversation's shifting from who's right to how do we prevent this from happening again? Good, Victoria said quietly. Then maybe something productive comes from this disaster. Blackwood's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression growing darker. When he hung up, he looked at Victoria with something close to pity. That was the Secretary of Defense. He wants to meet you, tomorrow, 0900 at the Pentagon. Why? Because you're about to become the most famous female special operator in American history, and he wants to figure out how to use that for recruitment. I already said no to interviews. He's not asking, he's ordering. You're still active duty, Commander, medically retired but not fully separated, which means you follow orders. Victoria's jaw tightened. With respect, sir, making me a recruiting poster wasn't part of my contract. Your contract was to serve at the needs of the military. Those needs just changed. Blackwood softened slightly. Vic, I know this isn't what you want, but we can use this. Show young women that these opportunities exist. Show them someone who actually did it, who survived it, who's real. You could inspire. I could also get my former assets killed. The people I extracted, the sources I protected, some of them are still operational. My face on every news channel puts them at risk. We'll mitigate that. Controlled messaging, limited details, no discussion of specific operations. It's not enough. You know it's not enough. Webb cleared his throat. Admiral, if I may. Commander Chen's got a point. I've worked with some of her assets. Putting her face out there, even in a controlled way, creates exposure we can't fully manage. These aren't theoretical risks. These are real people with real targets on their backs. I understand that, Master Chief. But I also understand that we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity here to change perception, to open doors to show that special operations isn't just a boys' club anymore. Commander Chen is living proof. Commander Chen is a person. Victoria interrupted, her voice sharp for the first time. Not a symbol, not a poster, not a recruiting tool. I bled for this country. I killed for it. I watched friends die for it. And now you want to parade me around like some prize to make quotas. That's not what this is. Then what is it? Blackwood met her eyes. It's the next mission. Different battlefield, same fight. You said it yourself earlier, we adapt. I adapt to threats I can shoot. This is something else. This is politics. And politics shapes operations. You know that. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then, I need to make another phone call. To who? Someone who understands what this costs. Blackwood nodded to Park. Get her a secure line. Privacy. Park led Victoria to an adjacent room smaller with just a desk and a phone. She closed the door, leaving Victoria alone with her thoughts and a decision she didn't want to make. She picked up the phone, dialed a number she hadn't called in 11 months. It rang 3 times before a woman answered. Catherine Rodriguez speaking. Catherine, it's Vic. Silence on the other end. Then carefully, I heard what happened. It's all over the news. Are you okay? Physically, yes. Everything else is complicated. I can imagine. Catherine's voice was controlled professional. She'd been a Navy psychiatrist before retiring, specializing in PTSD treatment for special operations personnel. She'd also been David Rodriguez's wife. David, who died covering Victoria's extraction in Mosul. David, whose last words were, "Get her out." Victoria had carried that debt for 3 years. They want me to go public, Victoria said. Full media engagement, controlled interviews, use my story for recruitment. How do you feel about that? Like I'm being asked to monetize trauma for institutional benefit. Catherine's laugh was bitter. That's government work in a nutshell. But Vic, can I be honest with you? Always. Maybe it's not the worst thing. Maybe some young woman sees you and thinks I could do that too. Maybe she joins up. Maybe she becomes something extraordinary. Maybe she saves lives you never could have reached. Is that monetizing trauma, or is that trauma finding purpose? You sound like my therapist. I am a therapist, just not yours. Catherine paused. David used to talk about you, you know, before Mosul. He said you were the toughest person he'd ever met. Not physically, mentally. He said you could take anything the world threw at you and keep standing. Is that still true? Victoria closed her eyes. I don't know anymore, Catherine. I feel like I've been standing so long I forgot why I'm standing. Like I'm just vertical, out of habit. That's exhaustion talking. That's 8 years of missions catching up with you. Catherine's voice gentled. Vic, whatever you decide about the media thing, the public thing, make sure it's your decision, not theirs, not the military's, yours, because you're the one who has to live with it, and you've given enough to not owe anyone anything anymore. But if I could help, then help, but don't sacrifice yourself again. You've already done that too many times. They talked for another 10 minutes, carefully avoiding topics that hurt too much to touch. When Victoria hung up, she felt steadier, not certain, but steadier. She returned to the briefing room. Blackwood looked up expectantly. I'll meet with the secretary, Victoria said. I'll hear what he has to say, but I'm not committing to anything, and if he pushes too hard, I walk. Medical retirement becomes full separation. I'm done. Fair enough. And I want something in return. What? Hutchins, reduced charges, formal reprimand, loss of rank, mandatory retraining, but no discharge. He stays in the Navy. He gets another chance. Blackwood studied her. You really believe he deserves that? I believe the military needs people who care enough to get angry when they think honor's being disrespected. We just need to teach him to aim that anger better. Kicking him out wastes potential. Retraining him develops it. Webb snorted. You're gonna make me respect the kid who arrested you. I hate when you do that. You'll survive, Master Chief. Park's laptop chimed again. She read, her expression shifting from professional to alarmed. Admiral, we have another problem. Someone just posted photos to Twitter. Photos of Commander Chen. in uniform, in tactical gear, from operations. The room went cold. What operations? Blackwood demanded. Can't tell from the photos. Their cropped faces of other operators blurred. But it's definitely her. And they're definitely operational photos, not training, not staged, real missions. Who posted them? Anonymous account, created today. Posted the photos 20 minutes ago. Already got 50,000 retweets. Victoria moved to Park's laptop, looked at the screen. Her face went very still. Those are from Syria. 2019. The photos shouldn't exist. We didn't allow cameras on that operation. Someone had a camera anyway, Webb said grimly. Someone in your unit. Impossible. We were 7 people. I know every one of them. I trust every one of them. Maybe one of them trusted the wrong person. Maybe their phone got hacked. Maybe Webb stopped. Or maybe someone wants this story bigger, wants you exposed more completely. Question is who and why. Blackwood was already on the phone. Get me counterintelligence. Now. And pull every member of Commander Chen's 2019 Syria rotation. I want them questioned. I want their devices searched. I want to know who took those photos and how they got out. Victoria sat down heavily. This isn't random. Hutchins was random, drunk and stupid and random. But this posting operational photos, this is targeted. Targeted by who? Park asked. Someone who wants me fully exposed. Someone who benefits from my cover being completely destroyed. Victoria's mind was racing, running through possibilities, discarding them, circling back. Or someone who wants chaos. Who wants the military distracted with internal drama while something else happens. That's paranoid, Webb said. I'm trained in paranoia. It's kept me alive. Victoria looked at Blackwood. Admiral, I need access to current intelligence briefings. Everything that's happening right now in regions where Ghost Unit operated. I need to see if there's a pattern. You're medically retired. You don't have access anymore. Then reinstate me. Temporarily. Limited duty. Whatever paperwork makes it legal. Victoria stood. Sir, if someone's actively compromising my identity, they're doing it for a reason. And that reason is probably operational, which means people are at risk. Assets. Sources. Maybe other operators. Blackwood considered. Even if I wanted to reinstate you, medical wouldn't allow it. Your injuries are healed enough for desk work, for analysis. I'm not asking to kick doors. I'm asking to think. That's what I'm good at. Webb nodded. She's right, Admiral. Chen's got the best tactical mind I've ever worked with. If someone's playing games, she'll see it before anyone else. Park was reading something on her laptop, her face going progressively paler. Admiral, there's more. The photos on Twitter, someone in the comments just posted coordinates. They're claiming it's the location where the photos were taken. Are they accurate? Blackwood demanded. I'm checking. Park typed rapidly. Yes. Those are the exact coordinates of a classified operation location from 2019. How would someone... They wouldn't, Victoria interrupted, unless they were there, or unless they had access to after-action reports, which means either someone in the unit went rogue or someone with high-level clearance is leaking. This is bigger than stolen valor, Webb said quietly. This is counterintelligence nightmare territory. Blackwood's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression going from concerned to furious. Understood. I'm on my way. He hung up, looked at Victoria. That was the Director of Naval Intelligence. He wants you in his office. 2 hours. Bring your full operational history, everything you can remember about Syria 2019, and prepare to be interrogated like you're the suspect. You think I leaked my own photos? I think someone does, and until we prove otherwise, you're the common denominator in all of this. Blackwood softened slightly. I don't believe it, Vic, but I have to follow protocol. You understand that? I understand. Victoria looked at her hands. They weren't shaking. They should have been. Am I under arrest? No. But you're not leaving this facility without escort either. For your protection as much as for security. Feels like arrest. Feels like I'm trying to keep you alive. Blackwood moved to the door. Webb, you're with her. Park, keep monitoring social media. Any new posts, any new information, I want to know immediately. They dispersed. Victoria found herself alone with Webb in the small briefing room, the walls closing in despite the reasonable size. Webb pulled out a flask, took a drink, offered it to her. Bourbon. Good stuff. Want some? I shouldn't. Probably not, but I'm asking anyway. Victoria took the flask, took a small sip, felt the burn. When did this become my life? When did I go from operator to conspiracy theory? When you survived long enough to matter. People who don't matter don't get conspiracies. They just get forgotten. Webb took the flask back. You know what the real problem is here. What? You're too good at your job. You've got too many successful operations, too many confirmed kills, too much impact. You're not just some operator. You're the operator, the one everyone points to when they want to prove women can do this work. And that makes you dangerous to certain people. What people? People who liked it better when special operations was their private club. People who don't want change. People who see you as a threat to their status quo. Webb leaned back in his chair. I've been in this community 30 years. I've seen progress, but I've also seen resistance. And that resistance doesn't always fight fair. You think someone in Naval Special Warfare is behind this? I think someone somewhere decided you'd be more useful as a cautionary tale than as an active operator. And they're making it happen. Victoria was quiet, processing. If you're right, this gets worse before it gets better. Probably, but you've faced worse odds. Have I? Syria, 12-1, building collapse. You held position for 40 minutes while we extracted the asset. You took 3 rounds and kept fighting. This is just different kind of combat. This is combat I can't shoot my way out of. So you think your way out. That's what you do, Vic. You think better than anyone I know. You see patterns. You predict behavior. Park burst through the door. We've got movement. The Twitter account that posted the photos, it just posted again. Posted a video, 6 minutes long. You need to see this. She turned her laptop around. The video showed Victoria in full tactical gear, face clearly visible, conducting what looked like a hostage rescue training evolution. But the timestamp was wrong. This was from 2 years ago, from a classified training facility. Worse, the video had audio. And in that audio, Victoria was giving commands, her voice clear and professional and unmistakably hers. Where did this come from? Victoria demanded. Unknown. Posted 5 minutes ago. Already got 200,000 views. Webb was reading the comments, his face darkening. People are analyzing your tactics, breaking down your movements. There's a whole thread about your shooting stance, your breach techniques, your command style. They're turning you into a case study. This is operational security nightmare, Victoria said. Every enemy I've ever faced now knows how I work, how I think, how I fight. It gets worse, Park said quietly. Someone in the comments claims they know your deployment schedule, claims they can track your operations based on public records and timeline analysis. They're building a map of everywhere you've been. Victoria felt something cold settle in her gut. If they can map my operations, they can identify my assets, the people I extracted, the sources I protected. They're all exposed. We need to warn them, Webb said. Everyone who worked with her, everyone she protected, they need to know they're compromised. Blackwood's phone was ringing again. He answered, listened, his face going gray. When he hung up, his voice was carefully controlled. That was State Department. 2 of your former assets in Yemen just went dark. We've lost contact. No one knows if they've been compromised or if it's a communication issue. Victoria stood so fast her chair tipped over. I need to make calls. Now. I need to warn, you can't. You're compromised. Any communication from you puts more people at risk. Then someone else needs to. It's already in motion. State Department and CIA are working their contacts. But Vic, Blackwood's expression was bleak. We might be too late. If someone's been planning this, if they've been building this operation for weeks or months, they're already executing. We're just now seeing it. Victoria felt her control slipping, felt 8 years of carefully maintained composure threatening to crack. People are going to die because someone posted my face on Twitter. We don't know that yet. Yes, we do. You know it. I know it. Anyone with operational experience knows it. Victoria's voice was rising despite her efforts to control it. Someone weaponized social media against me, turned viral outrage into operational exposure, and people I saved are going to die because of it. Webb grabbed her shoulder. Chen, focus. Anger won't help them. Analysis will. Who benefits from this? Who has the access, the motivation, the capability to pull this off? Victoria forced herself to think past the rage, past the fear. Someone with high-level clearance. Someone who knows my operational history. Someone with access to classified facilities to get that training video. Someone who... She stopped. What? Webb pressed. Someone who was at the officers' club tonight. Someone who saw Hutchins start this. Someone who recognized an opportunity. That's a lot of people. But not many with the right clearances. Not many who would have known my face, known my history, known where to find compromising materials. Victoria moved to Park's laptop, started scrolling through the Twitter posts, analyzing timing, analyzing content. These photos, they weren't posted randomly. Look at the timestamps. Every post comes exactly when maximum audience is online. Eastern Time Zone prime evening hours. This isn't some rogue operator posting on impulse. This is planned, coordinated. Professional, Webb agreed, which means institutional backing, or at least institutional knowledge. Victoria looked at Blackwood. Admiral, who else knew I'd be at that retirement ceremony tonight? Blackwood frowned. It was on the schedule. Anyone with access to base events calendar could have known. But who knew I'd be there specifically? Who knew I was coming? I don't... Blackwood stopped. Wait. Admiral Crawford. It was his retirement. He specifically requested your presence. Said he wanted to thank you for something classified. Who did he tell? I don't know. His staff, presumably. Maybe his command. Get me a list. Everyone Crawford told. Everyone who knew I'd be there tonight. Victoria was moving now, pacing her tactical mind, engaging. This wasn't random. Hutchins confronting me was random. But everything after, someone was ready. Someone was waiting. They had photos queued. They had videos prepared. They were ready to detonate my entire operational history the moment opportunity presented. Park was typing furiously. If you're right, that means someone has been monitoring you, collecting materials, building a file. For how long? Months at minimum, maybe years. Victoria stopped pacing. Admiral, I need to know something. And I need you to be honest with me. Was my medical retirement actually medical? The question hung in the air like a live grenade. Blackwood's face gave nothing away. Your injuries were real. The medical board was legitimate. That's not what I asked. Was there another reason? Political reason? Operational reason? Vic. Sir, someone is destroying my career with professional efficiency. Someone who knew how to weaponize one drunk SEAL's mistake into full exposure. That requires planning, requires patience, requires someone who wanted me out badly enough to build this operation. Victoria met his eyes. Were you asked to retire me? Were you told to find a medical reason? Blackwood was quiet for a long moment. Then, your injuries were real. The medical board was legitimate. But yes, there were conversations about whether you'd become too high profile, too recognizable, too much a liability given changing political climate around women in special operations. Who had these conversations? People above my pay grade. Pentagon. Higher. Victoria felt something settle in her chest. Not surprise. Confirmation. So I was always going to be pushed out. Hutchins just accelerated the timeline. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if what's happening now was always the plan, or if someone's improvising based on opportunity. But Vic... Blackwood moved closer. I need you to understand something. Whether this is coordinated or chaos, whether this is conspiracy or coincidence, the result is the same. You're exposed, your assets are at risk, and we need to get ahead of this before more people die. How? By figuring out who's behind it, by finding them before they do more damage. Victoria nodded slowly. Then we work the problem. We analyze the evidence. We build the profile. We hunt them the same way we'd hunt any enemy operator." Webb smiled grimly. "Now you're talking." Park's laptop chimed. Again. She read and her hands started shaking. "Oh God." "Admiral, another post. Another video. This one shows Commander Chen extracting an asset, shows their face, shows the location, and someone in the comments just posted the asset's name, their real name." Victoria grabbed the laptop, stared at the screen. The asset was Khalid Hassan, a Syrian intelligence officer who'd fed them information for 3 years. A man with a wife and 2 children. A man who'd risked everything to help American operations. A man whose face was now on Twitter attached to his real name, visible to everyone, including Syrian intelligence, including the people who executed traitors. Victoria's hands weren't shaking anymore. They'd gone completely still. The kind of still that came before violence. "How long ago was this posted?" 4 minutes. "Can we warn him?" "CIA's trying, but he's in Damascus. If Syrian intelligence sees this before we reach him..." Victoria was already moving, grabbing Park's laptop. "I need secure communication. Now. I need to reach someone in Damascus, someone outside official channels." "Who?" Blackwood demanded. "Someone I trust, someone off the books, someone who owes me." Victoria was typing, already accessing encrypted chat systems she technically shouldn't have access to anymore. Someone who can get to Khalid before Syrian intelligence does. "Vic, you're compromised. Anything you send could be monitored. Then monitor this." Victoria hit send. A message brief and coded to someone somewhere in the Middle East. Someone who would understand. Someone who would move. They waited. The room silent except for Park's laptop fan and the sound of distant traffic outside. Victoria counted seconds, counted probabilities, counted the chances that she'd just signed Khalid's death warrant by trying to save him. Her laptop chimed. Response received. "Package located. Moving to extract. Stand by." Victoria closed her eyes briefly. "He's got him. My contact has Khalid. He's moving him to safe location." "Who's your contact?" Blackwood asked. "Someone who doesn't exist officially. Someone Ghost Unit worked with on operations no one acknowledges. Someone who's better at this than anyone in official channels." "That's not an answer." "That's the only answer you're getting, sir. Because if I tell you who he is, I compromise him the same way I've been compromised. And I won't do that to him." Webb was nodding. "She's right. Keep him dark. We need someone outside official channels who can operate without exposure." Park's laptop chimed again. More posts. 3 more assets identified. Names, locations, everything. Whoever's doing this has complete access to Commander Chen's operational files. They're systematically burning every asset she's ever worked with. "Then we shut it down," Blackwood said. "NSA, CIA, everyone. We scrub every post block, every account, shut this down completely." "Won't work," Victoria said quietly. "It's already distributed. Screenshots everywhere. Copied, saved, reposted. You can't unring this bell. All you can do is warn the assets and hope they move faster than their enemies. So we just accept that people are going to die." "No. We find who's behind it and we stop them from posting more. We cut off the source." Victoria looked at Webb. "Master Chief, I need you to call in every favor we have. Everyone who's ever worked with Ghost Unit. Everyone who owes us. I need them monitoring these posts, identifying the source, tracking down the person or people behind this." Already on it, Webb had his phone out, typing rapidly. "I'm reaching out to 6 different contacts. Former operators, current intelligence, some friends in uncomfortable places. If this person leaves any digital trace, we'll find it." Victoria turned to Blackwood. "Admiral, I need something from you." "What?" "I need you to trust me for the next 12 hours. Let me work this my way. Let me operate outside official channels. Because whoever's behind this is inside official channels. They have to be. They have access to classified materials, to operational files, to my complete history. That's not external. That's internal." "You're saying we have a mole." "I'm saying we have an enemy who wears our uniform. And we're not going to catch them by following regulations they wrote." Blackwood studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. 12 hours. After that, I'm pulling you in and putting you in protective custody, whether you like it or not. Fair enough. Park's laptop chimed one more time. She read the message and suddenly smiled. We caught a break. The Twitter account posting these materials, it just made a mistake. Posted from an IP address that wasn't fully masked. Our cyber people traced it. Where? Victoria demanded. Naval Station Norfolk. Posted from inside the base. The room went very, very quiet. Someone on base is burning me, Victoria said softly. Someone close enough to attend that retirement ceremony. Close enough to see what happened with Hutchins. Close enough to be ready with materials the moment opportunity presented. Could still be someone remote, Webb said. Accessing base systems, routing through their network. Or it's someone who works there. Someone with access. Someone who saw a drunk SEAL's mistake and turned it into an operation. Victoria looked at each of them. Which means we're not hunting some outside enemy. We're hunting one of our own. And that she thought might be the worst thing she'd learned all night. The cyber forensics team arrived 40 minutes later. 3 technicians with equipment that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. They set up in the briefing room, commandeering Park's laptop, and 2 additional workstations, their fingers flying across keyboards, while Victoria watched and tried not to let her frustration show. The IP trace puts it in Building 47. The lead technician said, a woman named Lieutenant Sarah Chen, no relation to Victoria despite the shared surname. That's administrative offices, personnel logistics, some intelligence liaison positions. About 60 people have regular access to that building's network. Can you narrow it down? Blackwood demanded. Working on it. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. They routed through multiple access points, used VPN masking, employed several layers of encryption. This wasn't some amateur posting from their desk. This was professional. Webb leaned over Chen's shoulder, studying the data. How professional? Military intelligence professional, maybe NSA level, maybe higher. Chen pulled up a series of code strings. Look at this. They're using techniques I've only seen in classified operations. Whoever this is, they've got training most hackers never see. Victoria felt something click in her mind. Pull up the posting timestamps again. All of them. Park brought up the Twitter timeline. 16 posts over the last 4 hours, each perfectly timed for maximum visibility. Now cross-reference with shift changes at Building 47, Victoria said. When do people come and go? Chen typed rapidly. Standard day shift ends at 1700. Evening shift starts at 1800. But there's a gap about 45 minutes where the building's minimally staffed. And the first post, Victoria asked, 1807, right after shift change. So whoever posted was there during the gap, when fewer people were around to notice. Victoria moved to the screen, pointing at the timeline. Look at the pattern. Posts every 15 to 20 minutes. Like someone working through a checklist. Methodical. Patient. Someone who knew exactly what they wanted to release, and in what order. Someone who planned this, Webb agreed. Blackwood's phone rang. He stepped away to answer it, his voice low and urgent. Victoria tried not to listen, tried to focus on the data in front of her, but her enhanced hearing, trained through years of operations, caught fragments anyway. Yes, sir. I understand the sensitivity, but we need more time. No, sir. I don't think protective custody is... Yes, sir. Understood. He hung up, turned back to the room, his expression grim. That was the Director of Naval Intelligence. He's not happy. We've got 3 assets confirmed, compromised, 2 missing, and international incidents brewing in 4 countries. State departments threatening to pull all HUMINT operations in the Middle East until we can guarantee security. They're overreacting, Victoria said. They're protecting their people, same as I'm trying to protect you. Blackwood moved closer. Vic, I've got orders to bring you into formal protective custody. Secure facility, no outside contact, until we resolve this. That's a cage. That's safety. That's removing me from the hunt, which is exactly what whoever's behind this wants. Victoria's voice was hard. Sir, think about it. They exposed me specifically, not some other operator, me. That means I'm either the target or I'm the threat. And if I'm the threat, taking me off the board helps them. Webb nodded. She's got a point. If Chen's the target, protective custody protects her. But if she's getting close to something protective, custody neutralizes her. Or it keeps her alive long enough to figure out which is which, Blackwood countered. Chen suddenly sat up straight. I've got something. The posts, they're not just coming from Building 47's network. They're bouncing through it. The actual source is somewhere else using Building 47 as a relay point. Can you trace the real source? Victoria demanded. Trying. But whoever set this up is good. Really good. They've got so many layers, I can't wait. Chen's fingers stopped. That's weird. What? There's a pattern in the routing. Every post goes through the same 3 relay points before hitting Building 47. And those relay points, they're not random. They're all locations where Commander Chen has operated. The room went silent. Show me, Victoria said quietly. Chen pulled up a map marking the relay points. Germany, Italy, Bahrain. All places where Ghost Unit had conducted operations. All places where Victoria had spent time. That's not coincidence, Webb said. That's someone making a point. Or someone leaving breadcrumbs, Victoria countered. Someone who wants us to follow this trail. Why? Because they're leading us somewhere. The question is whether we're being led to truth or to a trap. Blackwood's phone rang again. He answered, listened, his face going progressively paler. When he hung up, his hand was shaking slightly. That was CIA. Khalid Hassan, your asset in Damascus. Your contact got to him, got him moving. But Syrian intelligence was faster. They hit the safe house 20 minutes ago. 3 dead. Khalid's wife and daughter were there. Victoria felt something break inside her chest. And Khalid, alive. Your contact got him out. But his family. Blackwood couldn't finish. Victoria turned away, facing the wall, her hands forming fists so tight her nails drew blood from her palms. Khalid's daughter had been 7 years old, bright eyes, loved drawing, had shown Victoria pictures, once crude childish sketches of flowers and birds and peace. Gone. Because someone posted a photo, because someone decided operational exposure was worth the cost. Vic, Webb said quietly, it's not your fault. Isn't it? I worked with him. I promised him protection. I told him we'd keep him safe. And we tried. We did everything. Everything except stop the person who burned him. Victoria turned back and Webb took an involuntary step backward at what he saw in her eyes. Not rage. Something colder. Something that had learned to function past rage, past grief, past everything except mission completion. I need access to Building 47, she said. Her voice was perfectly calm, perfectly controlled, perfectly lethal. Vic, you can't. I need access. Now. Tonight. Before whoever's behind this posts again. Before more people die. That's not protocol. You're not cleared for bite. Protocol got a 7-year-old girl killed. Victoria's voice cracked slightly on the last word, just enough to show the human underneath the operator. Sir, I'm asking for 12 hours. You promised me 12 hours. Let me use them. Blackwood studied her face. If I let you into Building 47, what are you going to do? I'm going to find everyone who had access to that network tonight. I'm going to interview them. And I'm going to figure out who's lying. That's criminal investigation. That's not your job. My job was protecting assets. Someone made that impossible. So now my job is finding them and stopping them before they kill anyone else I've worked with. Victoria met his eyes. I'm going with or without your permission, Admiral. With your permission just means I don't get arrested for breaking into a military facility. Webb laughed despite himself. She's not bluffing, sir. I've seen her break into worse places with worse security. Blackwood was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Fine. But Webb goes with you. And you check in every 30 minutes. And Vic, if you find who did this, you don't touch them. You call me. We handle this by the book. By the book, Victoria agreed. But her fingers were still clenched, still drawing blood, and Webb noticed. Chen, he said quietly. If we find them, we're bringing them in alive. That's non-negotiable. I know. I need you to say it. Need you to promise me you won't go dark side on this." Victoria looked at him. "I promise I'll bring them in. Whatever happens after that is on them." It wasn't quite the promise Webb wanted, but it was the one he was going to get. They left in a nondescript sedan, no military markings, nothing to draw attention. Building 47 stood dark except for a few windows on the second floor where the evening shift worked. Victoria studied it as they approached, noting exits, security cameras, access points, old habits. "You got a plan?" Webb asked. "Talk to the people on duty. See who's nervous. See who asks wrong questions or gives wrong answers. You're profiling." "I'm hunting." They showed credentials at the entrance. The petty officer on duty looked surprised to see visitors this late, but waved them through. Inside, Building 47 smelled like every military office Victoria had ever been in floor polish, old coffee, and institutional paint. The evening shift consisted of 7 people spread across 2 floors. Victoria and Webb started on the ground floor office by office, casual and friendly, and paying attention to everything. The first 3 interviews were routine. Personnel clerks working on evaluations, logistics, officers tracking supply orders, nothing unusual. They looked tired, looked bored, looked like people who just wanted to finish their shift and go home. The 4th interview was different. Lieutenant Commander Jason Torres, 38 intelligence liaison with 12 years in service. He looked up when they entered and something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe, or calculation. "Commander Chen," he said smoothly, "I saw what happened tonight at the officers' club. That was rough." "You were there." Victoria kept her voice neutral. "For the retirement ceremony. Left before things got exciting, though." Torres smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Heard it went viral. Must be weird having your face all over social media." "It's been an interesting evening." Victoria sat down across from him. "Lieutenant Commander, we're following up on some security concerns. Possible unauthorized access to classified networks. You have any unusual activity on your systems tonight?" "Nothing I noticed, but I've been working on quarterly reports mostly. Not really monitoring network traffic." "What time did you arrive for your shift?" 1800. Standard start time." "And you've been here the whole time?" Torres hesitated. Just a fraction of a second, but Victoria caught it. "Mostly. Took a smoke break around 1930, maybe 15 minutes. Anyone see you during that break?" "Why would anyone need to see me? I'm allowed to take breaks." Torres's smile was getting tighter. Webb leaned against the wall, casual but blocking the door. "Just routine questions, sir. We're asking everyone. Did you notice anyone else taking breaks at unusual times? Anyone accessing systems they don't normally use?" "No. Like I said, I was focused on my own work." Victoria pulled out her phone, showed him the Twitter screenshots. "Have you seen these posts? Someone's been releasing classified operational photos, posting from inside this building's network." Torres looked at the screen. His expression was perfectly controlled, but his pupils dilated slightly. "Stress response, fear response. That's a major security breach," he said carefully. "Yes, it is. Any idea who might have access to materials like this?" "Intelligence liaisons would have access to operational files, but those are supposed to be secured. Multiple authentication required. Someone would have to really know what they were doing to pull them without leaving traces." "Someone like an intelligence liaison," Victoria said quietly. Torres met her eyes. "Someone like an intelligence liaison, yes. But we're all vetted. We're all cleared. Why would any of us—" "I'm not suggesting anything, sir, just exploring possibilities." Victoria stood. "Thank you for your time. If you think of anything unusual, anything at all, please let us know immediately." They left Torres's office, waited until they were in the hallway out of earshot. "He's lying," Webb said immediately. "About the smoke break. Maybe other things too." Victoria pulled out her phone, texted Chen. "I need security footage from the building's exterior, around 1930. I want to see if Torres really went outside." They continued interviewing the other evening shift personnel. None of them showed the same stress response Torres had. None of them hesitated before answering. None of them set off Victoria's finely tuned threat assessment instincts. Her phone buzzed, Chen responding to her text. Security footage shows Torres left the building at 19:27, returned at 19:51. That's 24 minutes, not 15. And he didn't smoke. He walked to the parking lot, sat in his car with a laptop. Couldn't see what he was doing from camera angle, but he was definitely working on something. Victoria showed the message to Webb. He lied about the timing, lied about what he was doing. Could be innocent. Could be working on something personal he doesn't want to admit to at work. Could be. But between his reaction to the photos and this, he's our best lead. Victoria started moving back toward Torres's office. I'm going to push him, see what breaks. Vic, we need more evidence before... We need to stop the bleeding before more assets die. Evidence comes second. Victoria was walking faster now, that predatory focus taking over. Webb recognized it from operations from missions where soft approach had failed and hard approach became necessary. They reached Torres's office. Victoria didn't knock, just opened the door and walked in. Torres looked up, startled. Commander, I already answered your... You lied about your break. 24 minutes, not 15. You sat in your car with a laptop. What were you working on? Torres's face went carefully blank. That's personal, not relevant to your investigation. Everything's relevant when we're talking about security breaches that got people killed. Victoria moved closer to his desk. 3 assets compromised tonight. One of them lost his wife and daughter because someone posted their information online, posted it from this building's network, during a time frame when you were unaccounted for. I wasn't unaccounted for. I took a break. That's allowed. Show me your laptop. Excuse me. The one you had in your car. Show it to me. Torres stood his posture defensive. I don't have to show you anything. You're not law enforcement. You're not even on active duty anymore. You're just some operator with a blown cover who's looking for someone to blame. The insult hung in the air. Webb tensed, ready to intervene if Victoria's control slipped. But Victoria just smiled, cold and sharp and completely without humor. You're right. I'm not law enforcement, which means I'm not bound by their rules. So I'm going to ask you one more time very politely. Show me your laptop, or I'm going to assume you're the person who burned my assets, and I'm going to treat you accordingly. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You've got 10 seconds to decide which you'd prefer, cooperation or consequences. Torres looked at Webb. You hearing this? She's threatening a superior officer. Webb examined his fingernails. I didn't hear any threats. Just a request for cooperation. But I'm old. Hearing's not what it used to be. This is harassment. I'm filing a formal complaint. File away, Victoria said. Right after you show me your laptop. 9 seconds. Torres grabbed his phone. I'm calling security. 8 seconds. Commander Chen, you need to leave my office immediately. 7 seconds. I'm serious. I'll have you arrested for... Victoria's hand moved faster than Torres could track, grabbing his phone and placing it on his desk just out of reach. Not aggressive, not violent, just decisively removing his option. 6 seconds. And I should mention I spent 3 years learning enhanced interrogation techniques. I know exactly how much pressure to apply to make people tell me things they don't want to tell me, without leaving marks, without breaking anything that won't heal. 5 seconds. Torres's face had gone white. You can't. 4 seconds. Webb, control your operator. Webb checked his watch. Still not hearing any threats, just fascinating time management. 3 seconds. Torres's hands were shaking now. Okay, stop counting. Just stop. Victoria stopped. Stepped back slightly, gave him space, but not much. Smart choice. Now show me the laptop. Torres reached under his desk with trembling hands, pulled out a small laptop, set it on the desk. It's personal. It's got nothing to do with... Let me be the judge of that. Victoria opened the laptop. It was password protected. Unlock it. I'm not comfortable. Victoria's eyes met his. 8 years of combat operations looked back at him through those eyes. 8 years of doing things most people couldn't imagine in places most people would never know about. Torres typed his password. Victoria navigated quickly, checking browser history, checking files, checking everything, while Torres stood there looking like he might be sick. And there it was. Browser history showing multiple visits to Twitter. File folders filled with photos, operational photos, training videos, classified documents. Everything that had been posted tonight, all sitting right there on Torres's personal laptop. "Well," Victoria said quietly, "this is interesting." Torres bolted for the door, got 2 steps before Webb moved smooth and professional, positioning himself in the doorway without appearing to hurry. Torres bounced off him like he'd hit a wall. "Going somewhere, sir?" Webb asked pleasantly. Torres spun back to Victoria. "You don't understand. This isn't what it looks like. It looks like you've been systematically compromising classified operations. It looks like you burned multiple assets, got innocent people killed, and destroyed my operational cover. Please explain how I'm misunderstanding." I wasn't trying to." Torres collapsed into his chair. Oh God, this is bad." "That's an understatement." Victoria closed the laptop. "Lieutenant Commander Jason Torres, you're going to tell me everything. Who ordered this? Why they targeted me? What the end game is? And you're going to tell me right now before I lose what's left of my patience." Torres was shaking his head, tears starting. "You don't understand. They said it was authorized. They said it was sanctioned operation. They said you'd gone rogue, that you were a security risk, that exposing you was necessary for national security." "Who said that?" "I can't. If I tell you, they'll what, kill you?" Victoria leaned close. "Lieutenant Commander, I've got 3 dead assets tonight. One of them was a 7-year-old girl. So whatever you're afraid of, whatever threats they made, I promise you I'm worse. Because I've got nothing left to lose and every reason to make this hurt. Now talk." Torres broke completely. "Captain Richard Morrison, he approached me 3 months ago, said there was a covert operation to remove high-profile female operators who were causing political complications. Said you were the primary target. Said exposing your history was phase 1 of neutralizing you." The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Richard Morrison," Victoria repeated. "SEAL captain, runs training operations out of Coronado." "Yes. He said women in special operations were destroying readiness, destroying standards, destroying the brotherhood. He said removing you would send a message." "What message?" "That this is still our community, that we decide who belongs, that all the political correctness in the world won't change what it takes to be real operator." Torres was crying openly now. He made it sound like patriotism, like protecting the teams, like doing what was necessary. Webb's voice was cold as winter. "So you burned her assets, got innocent people killed, because some captain sold you on gender politics." "He said they weren't innocent. He said they were compromise risks anyway. He said their exposure would help secure operations in those regions by forcing wholesale changes to how we operate." "That's not security," Victoria said. "That's murder dressed up in operational language. And you bought it." I thought I was serving. I thought..." Torres couldn't continue. Victoria straightened, pulling out her phone. "Admiral Blackwood needs to hear this. All of it. Webb, secure him. He's not leaving this building until we have Morrison in custody." Webb moved to Torres, grabbed him firmly, but not roughly, positioned him where he couldn't run. Torres didn't resist, just sat there crying, broken by the weight of what he'd done. Victoria dialed Blackwood. He answered immediately. "Sir, we found him. Lieutenant Commander Torres. He's been posting the materials, but he's not the architect. He's following orders from Captain Richard Morrison out of Coronado. Morrison's running some kind of operation to remove female operators, using exposure and asset burns to discredit women in special operations." Silence on the other end. Then Blackwood's voice tight with controlled fury. "Morrison, are you certain?" Torres gave him up. Says Morrison approached him 3 months ago. Sold him on protecting the teams by removing political complications. Torres believed he was serving. He was serving his own prejudices, and Morrison weaponized them. Blackwood's breath was audible over the phone. "I'll have Morrison arrested immediately. Captain Park will prepare charges. Vic secure Torres. Get him into custody. And..." "Admiral, there's more," Victoria interrupted. "If Morrison planned this for 3 months tonight wasn't random. He knew I'd be at that retirement ceremony. He knew Hutchins would be drinking. He might have even arranged for Hutchins to notice me. You think he set up the initial confrontation? I think he created conditions where confrontation was likely. Put an angry seal alcohol and a visible target in the same room. Let nature take its course. Then, he had Torres ready with materials to amplify whatever happened. Victoria looked at Torres, who was staring at the floor. He's been orchestrating this entire thing. The arrest was just the spark. Everything after was planned. Then we need Morrison in custody before he realizes we're onto him. I'm calling Coronado now. They'll have him picked up within the hour. Sir, permission to be there when you interrogate him. Vic, that's not... Permission to be there when you interrogate him. Victoria's voice was hard. He tried to destroy me. He got people killed trying. I want to look him in the eye when he has to explain why. Blackwood was quiet. Then, permission granted. But you're observing only. You don't touch him. You don't speak to him. You just watch. Understood. Understood. They hung up. Victoria looked at Torres, who still wouldn't meet her eyes. Why didn't you question it? She asked quietly. When he told you to burn assets to expose sources, didn't you wonder if maybe you were on the wrong side? Torres finally looked up. I thought I was protecting something important. I thought women in special operations were political correctness gone wrong. I thought... He stopped. I thought I was right. And when you think you're right, it's easy to justify anything. That's not a defense. I know, but it's the truth. Torres wiped his face. How many died tonight? How many because of what I posted? 3 confirmed, 2 missing. Probably more before this is done. Victoria's voice was ice. And you did that because Morrison convinced you it was necessary, because you valued your prejudices more than you valued human life. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't resurrect a 7-year-old girl. Torres flinched like she'd hit him, but Victoria felt no satisfaction, just emptiness, just the weight of 3 dead assets and the knowledge that more might follow. Park arrived 15 minutes later with 2 MPs. They took Torres into custody, reading him his rights while he nodded numbly, already broken. Morrison, Victoria asked Park. MPs are at his quarters at Coronado now. Should have him in custody within 30 minutes. Admiral Blackwood wants him brought to Naval Special Warfare headquarters for interrogation. Secure facility controlled environment. When 2 hours, maybe 3 depending on transport. Park studied Victoria's face. You okay? No, but I will be once Morrison's in custody, and I understand why he thought any of this was justified. Might not be a why that makes sense. It never does, but I still need to hear it. They left Building 47. Dawn was maybe 3 hours away. The sky still dark, the base quiet except for distant sounds of maintenance crews and night operations. Victoria felt exhausted and wired simultaneously, running on adrenaline and rage, and the momentum of investigation. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Package secured. All packages moving to safe locations. Ghost protocols activated. Your people will survive. Her mysterious contact, the one who'd gotten Khalid out of Damascus, the one who was now moving all her compromised assets to safety. She typed back quickly. Thank you. I owe you. Response came immediately. You owe me nothing. Ghost Unit takes care of its own, even the ones who aren't supposed to exist anymore. Victoria felt something loosen in her chest. Her assets were moving, being protected. Morrison's operation was collapsing before it could do more damage. They returned to the secure facility. Blackwood was there with a full team: JAG attorneys, intelligence officers, cyber forensics. Everyone needed to build an airtight case against Morrison. The atmosphere was tense, purposeful, everyone working with the kind of intensity that came from knowing they were fighting against time. Morrison's in transport, Blackwood told Victoria. Should be here in 90 minutes. Torres is being processed. We've also got warrants for his computer equipment, his phone records, everything. If there are others involved, we'll find them. There are others, Victoria said with certainty. Morrison's a captain. He's got authority, but not enough to plan something this sophisticated alone. Someone higher ordered this, someone with more reach. We'll find them too. Blackwood gestured to a briefing room. Rest while you can. Once Morrison arrives, this gets ugly. Victoria tried to rest. Couldn't. Sat in the briefing room drinking terrible coffee and thinking about Khalid's daughter, about all the other assets in danger, about Morrison and Torres, and everyone else who'd decided she was a problem that needed eliminating. Webb joined her carrying 2 sandwiches from somewhere. Eat. You need fuel. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway, because when Morrison gets here, you're going to want all your strength to not kill him. Victoria took a sandwich, ate mechanically, tasting nothing. How'd we miss this? How'd Morrison plan this for 3 months without anyone noticing? Because he used true believers like Torres, people who wanted to believe women didn't belong, people who were already looking for justification to push back. Webb sat down across from her. And because we don't want to believe our own people would do this, we screen for outside threats. We don't always screen for inside ones. We should. Yeah, we should. Webb was quiet for a moment. You know what's going to happen now, right? This goes public. It becomes a case study. Military gender integration gone wrong. They'll use Morrison's operation as proof that women in special operations creates problems. They'll use anything as proof of what they already believe. Victoria set down her sandwich. But we've got truth on our side. We've got evidence. We've got Morrison on record ordering asset burns and operational exposure. That's not gender politics, that's treason. To us, yes. To people who think like Morrison, they'll call him a hero, a man who stood up for standards and brotherhood. Then those people are wrong. Doesn't stop them from existing. Victoria looked at Webb. Master Chief, you've been in this community 30 years. You've seen integration happen. You've seen women join. What do you think, honestly? Webb considered the question seriously. I think some women belong here and some don't. Same as men. I think the ones who belong like you earn their place, same as anyone, through blood and sacrifice and proving themselves every single day. I think Morrison and people like him are scared of change, scared of losing what made them special, and fear makes people stupid. That's a generous interpretation. Maybe, but I've been scared too. We all have. The trick is not letting fear run the show. Morrison let fear drive his decisions, made him a traitor instead of a leader. Victoria's phone buzzed. Blackwood texting her. Morrison's here. Interrogation room 3, you ready? She texted back. Ready. They moved to observation room adjacent to interrogation 3. One-way glass gave them clear view of the room where Captain Richard Morrison sat in handcuffs, his face a mask of defiance and barely controlled rage. He was 46, fit, with the kind of face that looked like it belonged on recruiting posters. 3 rows of ribbons spoke to decorated career. SEAL. Trident sat prominent on his chest. By any objective measure, he was successful, operator, respected leader. Someone who should have been role model. Instead, he'd become architect of operation designed to destroy one of his own. Blackwood entered the interrogation room with Park. Morrison looked up, his expression hardening further. Admiral, this is mistake. Whatever you think I've done, I think you orchestrated 3-month operation to compromise classified operations, burn intelligence assets, and destroy Commander Victoria Chen's cover. I think you recruited Lieutenant Commander Torres and possibly others to help you. I think you convinced them it was sanctioned security operation when it was actually vendetta. Blackwood sat down across from Morrison. And I think you're going to tell me why. All of it. Starting now. Morrison's jaw clenched. I want an attorney. You'll get one. But first you're going to listen. 3 assets died tonight. One of them was 7 years old. Died because you decided Commander Chen was a political problem that needed solving. So before you lawyer up, before you hide behind rights and regulations, I want you to look at these. Blackwood placed photos on the table. Victoria couldn't see them from observation room, but she could imagine. Khalid's daughter, the other casualties. Evidence of Morrison's operations cost. Morrison glanced at the photos. His expression didn't change. Casualties happen. In our line of work, everyone knows the risks. They know the risks from enemies, not from their own people. Blackwood leaned forward. Why Chen? Why target her specifically? Because she represents everything wrong with current policies. Because she's poster child for integration that's destroying operational effectiveness. Because keeping her visible, keeping her operational sends message that we're more concerned about politics than performance. In the observation room, Victoria felt something cold settle in her stomach. Morrison wasn't ashamed, wasn't conflicted. He believed every word he was saying. So, you decided to remove her, Blackwood said flatly. I decided to demonstrate that political correctness has consequences. That putting women in positions they can't handle creates security risks. Morrison met Blackwood's eyes. And I was right. Look at what happened tonight. One drunk SEAL questions her, an entire operation collapses. Multiple assets compromised. International incidents. If she was real operator, she would have handled situation without it becoming circus. If you hadn't orchestrated media amplification, situation would have been resolved quietly. Park spoke for first time. You had Torres ready with materials. You turned routine confrontation into viral incident. You made it circus. I accelerated inevitable. Chen's presence in special operations was always going to cause problems. I just proved it faster. Victoria's hands clenched. She wanted to burst into that room, wanted to make Morrison see the reality of what he'd done. But she'd promised Blackwood she'd observe only. Promised she'd stay controlled. Webb noticed her tension. Breathe, Chen. He's baiting. He wants reaction. Don't give it to him. He's justifying murder with politics. I know, but losing control doesn't help. Let Blackwood work him. In the interrogation room, Blackwood was continuing. Who else was involved? Who ordered this operation? No one ordered it. This was my initiative. I don't believe you. You're a captain. You've got authority, but not enough to run something this complex without oversight. Who gave approval? Morrison smiled, cold and satisfied and completely unrepentant. You want me to give you someone higher, someone with stars, someone you can arrest and make this bigger scandal. Sorry to disappoint you, Admiral, but this was me, my operation, my planning, my execution. And Torres, a true believer, someone who understood what's at stake, someone who valued standards over politics. You mean someone you manipulated into committing treason? I mean someone who saw truth and acted on it. Morrison leaned back in his chair. You're going to charge me, court-martial me, maybe even convict me. But you can't stop what's coming. There are others like me. Others who know women don't belong in special operations. Others who'll continue fighting this battle after I'm gone. That sounds like threat. That's reality. You can arrest me, but you can't arrest ideology. You can't court-martial beliefs, and belief that special operations should maintain standards. That belief isn't going anywhere. Blackwood stood abruptly. Captain Morrison, you're charged with unauthorized disclosure of classified information, conspiracy to compromise intelligence assets, conduct unbecoming an officer, and murder. You'll be held pending court-martial. And Morrison, your career is over. Your reputation is destroyed. Whatever legacy you thought you were protecting, you just burned it. History won't remember you as defender of standards. It'll remember you as traitor who got innocent people killed because you were scared of change. Morrison's smile never wavered. History's written by winners, Admiral. We'll see who wins in the end. Blackwood left the room, joined Victoria and Webb in observation. His face was tight with controlled fury. He's not going to give up anyone else. He's committed, fully bought into his own justification. But he's lying about being alone, Victoria said. He's protecting someone he thinks will continue the fight. Agreed. But without evidence, without someone else giving him up, we can't prove it. Blackwood looked at Victoria. I'm sorry, Vic. I wanted better answers than this. I wanted him to feel guilty, to show remorse, to understand he murdered innocent people. Victoria watched Morrison through the glass. He sat there calm and certain, like man who'd done nothing wrong. But people like him never feel guilty. They just feel righteous. Then we make sure his righteousness costs him everything, Blackwood said grimly. Victoria nodded, but she knew this wasn't over. Morrison had said it himself. There were others. Others who believed what he believed. Others who would continue fighting women in special operations. The war had changed, but it hadn't ended. And Victoria Chen, Ghost Unit Operator, the woman they'd tried to destroy, was still standing, still fighting, and now she knew who her real enemies were. Victoria left the secure facility as dawn broke over Virginia Beach, the sky turning from black to gray to something almost gold. She'd been awake for 23 hours straight, running on adrenaline and coffee, and the kind of focused intensity that made sleep impossible. Her phone had been vibrating nonstop for the last hour. News outlets, veterans organizations, people she hadn't talked to in years, all suddenly wanting statements, comments, her side of the story. She ignored them all. Webb drove her to a safe house. Blackwood had arranged a nondescript apartment in a civilian complex where no one would think to look for a compromised operator. The interior was sterile and impersonal, the kind of place that existed purely for function. Bed, bathroom, kitchen. Nothing that suggested anyone actually lived there. Get some sleep, Webb told her. Real sleep. Not that tactical nap thing you do where you're half awake the whole time. I'm fine. You're running on fumes. And today, whatever you've got a meeting with the Secretary of Defense, you need to be sharp for that. Victoria sat on the bed, suddenly feeling every one of those 23 hours. What am I supposed to say to him? Sorry, my existence caused an international incident. You say nothing until you know what he wants. Webb moved to the door. I'll be outside. 2 other guards on rotation. You're secure here. Actually secure, not Morrison thinks you're secure. Webb? Yeah. Thank you. For tonight. For all of it. Webb's expression softened. You'd do the same for me. You have done the same for me. That's what Ghost Unit means. We protect our own. After he left, Victoria tried to sleep. Managed maybe an hour before the nightmares started, not the usual combat nightmares, but new ones. Khalid's daughter asking why Victoria hadn't protected her. Torres posting photos while she watched helplessly. Morrison smiling that cold, satisfied smile while assets died around him. She woke with her heart racing, covered in sweat, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. The clock read 0700, 3 hours until her meeting with the secretary. 3 hours to figure out what to say. How to explain, how to justify her continued existence in a community that apparently had people actively working to remove her. Her phone buzzed. A message from Catherine Rodriguez. I saw the news. All of it. Are you okay? And before you say yes automatically, I mean really okay. Not operator okay. Human okay. Victoria stared at the message for a long time before responding. I don't know the difference anymore. I've been operator so long that human feels like the disguise. Catherine's response came quickly. That's the problem. You've been in the field so long you forgot there's supposed to be someone underneath the operator. Someone who feels things. Someone who gets hurt by betrayal. Feeling things doesn't complete missions. No, but it makes you human. And humans are worth protecting. Operators are tools. If you're just a tool, Morrison was right to try to remove you when you became inconvenient. The words hit harder than Victoria expected. She typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on, I don't know how to be anything but what I've been. Then maybe it's time to learn. Maybe that's what coming out of the shadows means. Not just being visible. Being vulnerable. Being human. Victoria set down her phone without responding. Being vulnerable sounded like weakness. And weakness got people killed. But then again, being nothing but operator had made her a target. Had made Morrison think removing her was acceptable. Had made Torres believe burning her assets was protecting something important. Maybe Catherine had a point. She showered, changed into clean civilian clothes someone had left for her, tried to make herself presentable. The mirror showed someone who looked tired and hard and older than 34. Someone who'd seen too much and carried too much and was only now realizing how heavy the burden had become. Blackwood arrived at 0830 freshly shaved and somehow looking well rested, despite probably having slept less than she had. Admiral's privilege, Victoria supposed. The ability to project control even when everything was chaos. Ready, he asked, as I'll ever be. They drove to Pentagon in silence. Victoria watched the city pass by normal people going to normal jobs, living normal lives, where the biggest crisis was traffic or a difficult boss. She wondered what that felt like, to have problems that didn't involve body counts and international incidents. The Secretary of Defense's office was exactly what Victoria expected, all dark wood and American flags, and the weight of institutional authority. Secretary James Patterson sat behind a desk that probably cost more than Victoria's annual salary, his expression carefully neutral as she and Blackwood entered. "Commander Chen, Admiral Blackwood, please sit." Patterson gestured to chairs. "I've been briefed on last night's events, all of them. I have to say this is one of the more complicated situations I've dealt with in my tenure." Victoria remained standing. "Sir, if you're going to tell me I'm being forced out, let's skip the preamble." Patterson raised an eyebrow. "Commander, I'm not going to force you out. I'm going to offer you a choice, and I need you to understand what each option entails." That wasn't what Victoria expected. She sat slowly. "Option 1, Patterson continued, full separation. Medical retirement becomes complete civilian status. We arrange new identity if you want it, relocation assistance, job placement. You disappear, live normal life. Put all of this behind you. And option 2, you stay. Different capacity. We can't put you back in field, your cover's gone, your face is everywhere, you're too visible for covert operations. But we offer you position as training advisor. Help develop next generation of operators. Share your knowledge and experience with people who can use it." Victoria looked at Blackwood. "You knew about this." "I was consulted," Blackwood admitted. "But the decision is yours, Vic. Completely yours. What about Morrison? What about others like him who think women don't belong?" Patterson's expression hardened. "Captain Morrison is being court-martialed. Maximum charges. We're also launching internal investigation to identify anyone else involved in his operation. And Commander, I want to be clear. Morrison's views don't represent this institution. They represent a dying mindset that we're actively working to eliminate. Dying mindsets can still kill people. They killed 3 of my assets last night. I know, and I'm sorry for that. Truly." Patterson leaned forward. "But Commander, you have opportunity here. To show that people like Morrison don't win. To demonstrate that women in special operations aren't political statement, they're operational reality. Your presence, your experience, your willingness to continue serving despite what happened, that sends message stronger than any propaganda campaign we could run. You want me to be symbol. I want you to be teacher. The symbol part is unavoidable. At this point, your face is out there, your story is out there. But what you do with that visibility, how you use it, that's up to you." Victoria was quiet, thinking. Part of her wanted option 1. Wanted to disappear, become someone else, leave all of this behind. Start fresh somewhere. Morrison and Torres and people like them couldn't touch her. But another part, the part that had spent 8 years fighting, that had saved 67 confirmed lives, that had earned every scar and every commendation, that part couldn't walk away. Couldn't let Morrison win by making her leave. "If I stay, I have conditions." Patterson nodded. "I'm listening. First, I want full investigation into everyone involved in Morrison's operation. Not just Morrison and Torres. Everyone. And I want results made public. No classified whitewash. People need to know this happened and how we're addressing it." "Agreed." Second, I want changes to how we handle integration. Better screening for personnel with bias issues. Better support for female operators. Better consequences for people who create hostile environments. That's already in motion. What else? Third, I want protection for my remaining assets. Everyone I've ever worked with gets security review, relocation assistance if needed, whatever it takes to keep them safe from fallout of this exposure. CIA and State Department are coordinating that now. Anything else? Victoria hesitated. I want Hutchins' charges reduced. Not dropped, but reduced. He made mistake, but he wasn't part of Morrison's conspiracy. He was tool, not architect, and I think he can learn from this, become better officer. Patterson exchanged glances with Blackwood. That's generous considering he started this whole mess. He started confrontation. Morrison turned it into operation. There's difference. Victoria met Patterson's eyes. Sir, if we destroy everyone who makes mistake, we don't have military. We have people too scared to act. Hutchins needs consequences. But he doesn't need his life destroyed. All right, I'll review his case personally. Anything else? Just one thing. I won't do interviews. I won't do media appearances. I won't be your poster child for recruitment. I'll train, I'll advise, I'll share everything I know, but I won't perform. Patterson considered this. That's going to make things difficult. Media wants your story. Public wants to hear from you. Then public will be disappointed. I didn't serve for recognition. I served because it needed doing. That hasn't changed. Fair enough. Patterson stood, extended his hand. Welcome back, Commander Chen. Different mission, same fight. Victoria shook his hand. When do I start? 2 weeks. That gives us time to set up proper security brief training command, prepare for your arrival. Use that time to rest. Recover. Process everything that's happened. After they left Patterson's office, Blackwood walked Victoria back to the car. You sure about this staying? You could walk away clean. Nothing about me is clean, sir. My cover's blown, my face is everywhere, my assets are compromised. Walking away doesn't change any of that. At least this way I can do something useful with the mess. You're braver than most people realize. I'm angrier than most people realize. There's difference. Blackwood smiled slightly. Use that anger. Channel it. Make it productive. Because you're right, there are more people like Morrison out there. And they're watching to see if we back down or stand firm. Then we stand firm. They drove back toward the safe house, but halfway there Victoria's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Commander Chen. This is Linda Vasquez, Master-at-Arms Chief from NAS Oceana. We met last night. Victoria remembered. Patterson. The woman who'd detained her, who'd followed procedure, who'd been professional throughout. Chief Vasquez, what can I do for you? I wanted to apologize for the detention, for the handcuffs, for everything. I didn't know who you were, but that's not excuse. I should have. Chief, you did your job correctly. You followed procedure. You had credible accusation and you investigated it properly. That's exactly what you should have done. But I detained you. You protected military honor by taking stolen valor seriously. That matters. And Chief, I need you to understand something. What happened last night, the confrontation, the detention, all of it, that wasn't your fault. That was Morrison's operation. He engineered situation to expose me. You were just doing your job. Vasquez was quiet for a moment. Lieutenant Commander Hutchins came to see me this morning. He's being held pending charges, but he requested meeting. He wanted me to tell you he's sorry. Says he was drunk and stupid and he had no idea what he was starting. Did you tell him it's not his fault either? I told him he was drunk and stupid and he should have walked away. But yeah, I also told him Morrison played him, used him, made him tool in bigger operation. How's he handling it? Not well. He's looking at discharge, loss of career, public humiliation. His live stream's been viewed 15 million times. He's become cautionary tale about jumping to conclusions. Victoria felt something soften in her chest. Tell him I'm working on getting his charges reduced. Tell him this doesn't have to be end of his career. Tell him he can learn from this and become better officer. You're really going to help him. After what he did, he made mistake. I've made mistakes too. Difference is mine happened in classified operations where only handful of people know about them. He deserves chance to recover from his. You're a better person than I'd be. I'm just tired of watching people get destroyed. We destroy enough enemies. We don't need to destroy our own too. After hanging up, Victoria found herself thinking about Hutchins, about Torres, about all the people who'd gotten caught up in Morrison's operation without fully understanding what they were part of. They'd made choices, yes, but those choices had been shaped by someone who'd deliberately manipulated them. The car pulled up to safe house. Webb was waiting outside, phone to his ear, his expression serious. He ended call as Victoria approached. That was my contact at Coronado. Morrison's being held in secure facility awaiting court-martial. But Chen, he's talking. To anyone who'll listen. He's claiming he's political prisoner. Claiming he's being punished for defending standards. He's trying to make himself martyr. Let him talk. Facts don't support his narrative. Facts don't matter to people who want to believe him. And there are people who do. I'm hearing things from SEALs I've known for years, good operators, saying maybe Morrison had point. Maybe women in special operations do create complications. Victoria felt cold settle in her stomach. How many? Enough to worry about. Not majority, but vocal minority. And minorities can be loud enough to sound like majorities. Webb looked uncomfortable. Chen, you need to prepare for backlash. For some people, deciding Morrison was right, even if his methods were wrong. I've faced worse enemies than people's opinions. Have you? Because bullets you can handle. Politics is different battlefield. Before Victoria could respond, her phone rang again. Catherine Rodriguez this time. Vic, turn on the news. Any channel, you need to see this. Victoria pulled out her phone, found news stream. The headline made her stop cold. SEAL captain claims conspiracy, says female operator removal was sanctioned operation. The video showed Morrison's attorney giving press conference standing in front of microphones and cameras, looking professional and concerned, and completely convincing. My client, Captain Richard Morrison, is being scapegoated for operation that had institutional support. He was following orders from higher authority. Orders to address security concerns posed by high-profile female operators whose presence in classified units was creating political complications. Captain Morrison is patriot who served his country for 22 years, and now he's being sacrificed to protect people who ordered him to act. Victoria felt her hands clench. He's lying. Patterson said this wasn't sanctioned, that Morrison acted alone. Doesn't matter if he's lying, Webb said quietly. What matters is whether people believe him. And right now he's got platform and credibility and lawyer who knows how to spin story. The attorney continued. We're prepared to present evidence that Captain Morrison was acting on orders, communications, meetings, documentation showing that his operation had approval from senior leadership. The real question isn't why Captain Morrison did what he did. It's why military is trying to cover up who ordered him to do it. That's complete fabrication, Blackwood said. He'd been watching the stream over Victoria's shoulder. There are no communications, no meetings, no documentation, because it didn't happen that way. But how do we prove negative? Victoria asked. How do we prove something didn't happen? We investigate. We interview everyone Morrison claims gave him orders. We build timeline of his activities. We show jury exactly how he operated and why his story doesn't hold up. In the meantime, he gets to control narrative, gets to claim he's whistleblower instead of traitor. Catherine's voice came through the phone, still on the line. Vic, this is going to get worse before it gets better. Morrison's attorney is good, really good, and he's playing to audience that wants to believe women in special operations are problem. You need to prepare for long fight. I've been fighting for 8 years. I can fight longer. Not like this. This is different. This is public opinion court, and in that court, truth doesn't always win. Victoria ended the call, stood there processing. Morrison wasn't just fighting court-martial, he was fighting for hearts and minds, trying to make himself hero instead of villain, and he had head start because his attorney had gotten to media first. We need to respond, she said to Blackwood. Can't let his version become accepted narrative. Pentagon Public Affairs is drafting statement now, but Vic, anything we say is going to sound defensive. We're denying his claims, which means we're reacting to his story instead of telling our own. Then we tell our own story. We present evidence. We show exactly what Morrison did and why. Can't do that without revealing classified information. The operations you ran, the assets you protected, all of that's classified. If we use it to defend you, we expose it. And exposing it puts more people at risk. Victoria felt trapped. Morrison was using classified nature of her work as shield, claiming things that couldn't be disproven without revealing information that needed protecting. It was brilliant strategy. Terrible ethics, but brilliant strategy. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. You don't know me, but I was on your team in Syria, 2019. I saw what you did, what you sacrificed. Morrison's lying, and I'm willing to testify to that, even if it costs me. Victoria stared at the message. Someone from her old team. someone willing to break cover to defend her. Another text came. Different number. Ghost unit doesn't forget its own. Tell me where and when. I'll tell everyone exactly what kind of operator you are. Morrison can't spin that. Then another. And another. 5 messages in 2 minutes. All from people she'd operated with. All willing to come forward. They're testifying, she said quietly, showing the messages to Blackwood. My old team. They're willing to come out of shadows to counter Morrison's narrative. Blackwood read the messages, his expression shifting from concerned to something like hope. If they testify, if we can get sworn statements from operators who worked with you directly, that changes everything. That's not Pentagon defending you. That's fellow operators vouching for you. But it compromises them, exposes them, makes them targets, same way I'm target. That's their choice, and they're choosing to make it. Webb was reading over Blackwood's shoulder. Chen, this is what Ghost Unit means. We protect our own, even when it costs us. Victoria felt something break in her chest, not breaking like damage, breaking like dam releasing. She'd spent so long being alone, being isolated, being the ghost who couldn't acknowledge others or be acknowledged. And now her team was stepping forward, choosing her over their own security. We need to coordinate this, Blackwood said, already pulling out his phone. Get their statements, arrange security for them, build case that Morrison can't counter. He paused. But Vic, you need to understand once they testify, their operational lives are over too. They'll be as exposed as you are. I know. And you're okay with that. Victoria thought about Khalid's daughter, about the 3 dead assets, about Morrison sitting in holding cell claiming righteousness, about everyone who'd been hurt because one man decided women didn't belong. No, she said. I'm not okay with it, but it's necessary, and sometimes necessary is all we get. Over the next 6 hours, Blackwood and his team worked with frightening efficiency. They contacted everyone who'd messaged Victoria, set up secure communication channels, arranged transport to bring them to location where they could give sworn testimony, built framework for court-martial prosecution that would make Morrison's claims of sanction impossible to sustain. Victoria watched it come together, feeling strange mix of gratitude and guilt. Gratitude that her team was standing with her. Guilt that standing with her cost them so much. Webb found her in the safe house kitchen staring at coffee she wasn't drinking. Second guessing, he asked. Wondering if I'm worth what this is costing everyone. You're asking wrong question. Question isn't whether you're worth it. Question is whether truth is worth it. Whether stopping Morrison from turning treason into heroism is worth it. Whether making sure next generation of female operators doesn't face what you've faced is worth it. Webb poured his own coffee. And answer to those questions, absolutely yes. How do you know? Because I've served with you. I've watched you operate. I've seen what you sacrifice and how you lead and what you're willing to endure for the mission. And Chen, if military doesn't protect people like you, we don't deserve to have people like you. Victoria was quiet. Then, thank you, Master Chief, for everything. Thank me by winning this fight, by staying in, by proving Morrison wrong in every possible way. That evening, Blackwood called with update. We've got 6 sworn statements from your former teammates, all of them corroborating your service, your operations, your sacrifice. All of them stating categorically that Morrison's claims of institutional sanction are false. We're filing them with court-martial proceedings tomorrow. How are they, the teammates? Handling it. Some better than others. But they're united in this. They want Morrison held accountable. So do I. Then you'll get your chance. Court-martial starts in 3 weeks. You'll be called to testify. So will they. So will Torres and Hutchins and everyone else involved. It's going to be public. It's going to be ugly. And it's going to put everything about your service under microscope. I can handle it. I know you can. But I need you to understand this trial isn't just about Morrison anymore. It's become referendum on women in special operations. Every day of testimony is going to be analyzed. Every answer you give is going to be scrutinized. They're going to try to find holes in your service record, ways to suggest maybe Morrison had point. Let them try. My record speaks for itself. Your record is classified. Most of it can't be discussed publicly. So they're going to pick apart what can be discussed and extrapolate from there. Victoria set down her coffee cup. Then we make sure what can be discussed is unimpeachable. We prepare. We anticipate their arguments. We build defense that doesn't rely on classified material. That's what we're doing. But Vic, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to hurt. They're going to attack your character, your capability, your judgment. They're going to suggest you're unreliable or emotional or incapable. Every stereotype about women in combat they're going to throw at you. Good. Let them show their bias. Let jury see exactly what kind of prejudice drives people like Morrison. Blackwood was quiet. Then, you're stronger than anyone I've ever met. You know that. I'm angrier than anyone you've ever met. I'm just good at channeling it. Channel it at court-martial. Show them what real operator looks like. Show them what Morrison tried to destroy. After Blackwood ended the call, Victoria sat alone in the safe house processing everything. 3 weeks until court-martial. 3 weeks to prepare to rest to figure out how to testify about classified operations without revealing classified details. 3 weeks to get ready for fight that would determine not just Morrison's fate, but potentially the future of women in Naval Special Warfare. Her phone buzzed. Message from Catherine. I heard about the court-martial. I heard your team is testifying. Vic, I'm proud of you. David would be proud of you too. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back, refusing to let them fall. Operators didn't cry. Operators stayed strong. But humans did cry. Humans felt things. And maybe Catherine was right. Maybe being human was the bravery now. Not the missions, not the operations, just being vulnerable enough to feel. She typed back, I miss him. I miss having someone who understood all of this without explanation. I know, but you've got team now. Not just your ghost unit team, but all of us. Everyone who's watched you stand up when Morrison tried to knock you down. You're not alone in this. Victoria wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe she had people in her corner, people who'd fight with her people, who'd protect her the way she'd protected so many assets over the years. But trust was hard, especially after Morrison, after Torres, after learning that enemies didn't always look like enemies until it was too late. Webb knocked on the door. Chen, got someone here who wants to talk to you. Victoria opened the door. Standing in the hallway was Lieutenant Commander Brad Hutchins. He looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted, his eyes red like he'd been crying or drinking or both. Commander Chen, he said quietly, I know I'm probably the last person you want to see. But I needed to apologize. Face to face, not through Chief Vasquez or lawyers. Just me to you. Victoria studied him, saw genuine remorse, genuine pain. Someone who'd made terrible mistake and was drowning in consequences. Come in, she said. Hutchins entered the safe house hesitantly, like he expected her to attack him. Webb positioned himself by the door, watchful but not interfering. I was drunk, Hutchins started. That's not excuse, just fact. I was drunk and angry and I saw your tattoo and I assumed. I assumed you were fraud because I wanted you to be fraud. Because some part of me didn't want to believe women could do what you've done. Why? Victoria asked simply. Because if women can do it, that makes me less special, makes my trident less exclusive, makes everything I've achieved less, I don't know, less mine. Hutchins looked at his hands. That's stupid. That's selfish. That's everything wrong with how some of us think. But it's true. At least you're honest about it. Honesty doesn't fix what I did, doesn't bring back your cover, doesn't undo the exposure, doesn't... His voice cracked. I didn't know about Morrison, didn't know he was using me, but that doesn't matter. I still started it. I still put you in handcuffs. I still broadcast your face to the world. Victoria was quiet. Part of her wanted to rage at him. Part of her wanted to make him hurt the way she was hurting. But larger part recognized he was already hurting, already paying price. Lieutenant Commander, she said carefully, what you did was wrong. You made assumptions based on prejudice. You acted without thinking. You violated someone's rights because you valued your pride more than their dignity. All of that is true." Hutchins nodded miserably. "But," Victoria continued, "you didn't know you were part of larger operation. You didn't know Morrison was manipulating you. You thought you were protecting military honor. You were wrong, but your intentions weren't malicious. Does that matter?" "Yes, because malice and mistake are different things. Morrison was malicious. You were mistaken. One deserves destruction. Other deserves correction." Hutchins looked up at her. "You're really working to get my charges reduced." Chief Vasquez said, "But I couldn't believe. I'm working to get your charges reduced because destroying you doesn't serve anyone. You made mistake. Learn from it. Become better officer. That serves military more than your discharge would." "Why? After what I did to you, why would you?" "Because I've made mistakes too. Big ones. Mistakes that cost people. Difference is mine happened in classified operations where only handful know about them. You made yours in public, but mistakes aren't character. How you respond to them, that's character." Hutchins was crying now openly and without shame. "I don't deserve your mercy." "Probably not, but you're getting it anyway. Use it well." After Hutchins left, escorted by MPs, back to his holding facility, Webb looked at Victoria with something like wonder. "You just forgave the man who destroyed your cover." "I forgave someone who made mistake. Morrison destroyed my cover. Hutchins just triggered the trap Morrison set. Still, that took strength most people don't have. That took being tired of revenge, of anger, of watching people destroyed." Victoria sat down heavily. "Morrison wants war, wants to divide us, wants operators choosing sides, women versus tradition, progress versus standards. Forgiving Hutchins doesn't give Morrison what he wants. No, it shows there's another way, better way. Maybe, or maybe I'm just too tired to hate anymore." Webb squeezed her shoulder briefly. "Either way, you did good thing today. David Rodriguez would be proud. Catherine's right about that." Victoria nodded, but didn't trust herself to speak. She'd held herself together through everything, the arrest, the interrogation, the exposure, Morrison's smug righteousness. But Hutchins' genuine remorse had cracked something, had reminded her that not everyone who hurt her was enemy. Some were just people who'd been wrong, and maybe forgiving them was its own kind of operation, its own kind of mission. Maybe mercy was the bravest thing she'd done all week. 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation and testimony rehearsals and sleepless nights where Victoria relived every operation, every decision, every moment that had led to this. The court-martial began on a Tuesday morning, the courtroom packed with media, military brass, and enough tension to choke on. Morrison sat at the defense table in his service dress blues, ribbons, polished posture, perfect-looking, every inch the decorated SEAL captain he'd been before he'd decided destroying Victoria was more important than his oath. His attorney, Marcus Webb, no relation to Master Chief Webb, was a civilian defense lawyer with a reputation for getting military clients acquitted on technicalities. Victoria sat in the witness waiting area with her own attorney, Commander Lisa Park, reviewing testimony points for the 100th time. "They're going to try to make you emotional," Park said quietly. "They're going to bring up the assets who died. They're going to suggest you failed to protect them. Stay calm. Stay factual. Don't let them bait you." "I know." Knowing and doing are different things. Morrison's attorney is good at finding pressure points, at making witnesses crack. Victoria looked at Park. "I've been interrogated by actual enemies in actual hostile territory. A lawyer in a courtroom doesn't scare me." Maybe he should. Because enemies in hostile territory want information. This lawyer wants to destroy your credibility. That's different kind of threat. Before Victoria could respond, the bailiff called her name. Time to testify. The courtroom was smaller than she expected, but felt enormous with all the eyes watching her. She walked to the witness stand with her back straight, her movements controlled, projecting the confidence of someone who'd faced worse threats and survived. After being sworn in, the prosecutor, Captain Sarah Martinez, began her direct examination. Standard questions establishing Victoria's identity, her service record, her qualifications, building foundation for everything that would follow. "Commander Chen, can you describe your relationship with Captain Morrison before the events of November 1st? "I had no relationship with him. We'd never met. Never worked together. I knew of him by reputation, but we'd never directly interacted. So you had no personal conflict with him? No reason for him to target you specifically? None that I was aware of. Martinez pulled up photographs on the courtroom screen. Operational photos, training images, all the materials Torres had posted at Morrison's direction. Commander, do you recognize these images? Yes. They're from various operations and training evolutions I participated in between 2017 and 2024. Were these images authorized for public release? No, all of them are classified, some at secret level, some at top secret, some at compartmented levels above that. And yet they appeared on public social media. How did that happen? Lieutenant Commander Torres accessed them from classified systems and posted them as part of Captain Morrison's operation to compromise my cover and expose my assets. Morrison's attorney stood. Objection. The witness is characterizing my client's actions without evidence. The judge. Captain Michael Richardson looked at Victoria. Do you have evidence supporting your characterization? Yes, sir. Lieutenant Commander Torres confessed that Captain Morrison ordered him to post these materials. That confession is part of the court record. Objection overruled. Continue, Captain Martinez. Martinez walked Victoria through the timeline of November 1st, the retirement ceremony, Hutchins' confrontation, the arrest, everything that followed. Victoria recounted it clearly and without emotion, just facts and timestamps and exactly what had happened. Then came the harder questions. Commander Chen, 3 of your assets died as a result of the exposure. Can you tell the court about them? Victoria took a breath. Khalid Hassan, Syrian intelligence officer who provided information on terrorist networks for 3 years. His wife Amira and daughter Layla were killed when Syrian intelligence raided their safe house. Khalid survived but lost his family. Were there others? Jamal Qadir, Yemeni translator who helped us during counterterrorism operations. Status currently unknown, presumed captured or killed. And Dmitry Volkov, Russian military officer who provided intelligence on weapons trafficking, found dead in his Moscow apartment 2 days after his name was posted online. How do you feel about their deaths? Victoria's hands tightened on the arms of the witness chair. I feel responsible. I recruited them. I promised them protection. I failed to deliver on that promise. Did you fail, Commander, or were you betrayed by one of your own? Both can be true. I should have anticipated the threat, should have protected them better. From an inside operation by a senior officer. How could you have anticipated that? I couldn't, but they're still dead. My failure to anticipate doesn't change that. Morrison's attorney stood for cross-examination. He moved with calculated casualness, a predator assessing prey. Commander Chen, you've described yourself as a ghost unit operator. Can you explain what that means? Ghost unit conducts operations that require deep cover and complete deniability. Our identities are classified. Our missions are classified. We operate in environments where official military presence isn't possible or advisable. So you're spies, essentially. We're operators conducting classified missions. The designation isn't important, the results are. And these results, these operations you can't talk about, we're just supposed to take your word that they happened, that they were successful. Martinez stood. Objection. The witness has provided classified documentation to this court under seal. The jury has access to her complete service record. Sustained. Mr. Webb, the witness's record has been verified. Move on. Morrison's attorney smiled slightly. Very well. Commander, let's talk about your medical retirement. You were injured during an operation in 2024, correct? Yes. What was the nature of those injuries? Crushing injuries from building collapse, internal damage, multiple fractures, extended recovery required. And the medical board determined you were no longer fit for operational duty. They determined my injuries prevented me from meeting physical requirements for field operations. I can still function in advisory capacity. But not as an operator, not doing the actual work. Victoria felt her jaw tighten. Not in the field, no. So when Captain Morrison suggested that your continued high-profile presence might create complications, wasn't he simply acknowledging reality? That you're no longer operational, but we're still being held up as example of female operators? No, he was orchestrating an operation to destroy my cover and compromise my assets because he opposed women in special operations. There's a difference between honest assessment of capabilities and malicious exposure. You call it malicious. He calls it necessary. How do we know who's telling the truth? Because 3 people are dead. Because my assets were deliberately exposed. Because Lieutenant Commander Torres confessed that Morrison ordered him to post classified materials specifically to harm me and discredit female integration. Or because Lieutenant Commander Torres is covering for his own actions by blaming a superior officer. Have you considered that possibility? Victoria leaned forward slightly. I've considered every possibility. That's what operators do. We analyze threats, assess probabilities, determine most likely scenarios. And every analysis points to the same conclusion: Captain Morrison orchestrated this operation deliberately and with full knowledge of the consequences. Morrison's attorney changed tactics. Let's talk about the night of November 1st. Lieutenant Commander Hutchins confronted you about your tattoo. Why didn't you simply show him credentials? Verify your service immediately. Because I'm not authorized to disclose operational details without proper clearance verification. That's protocol, even if it's inconvenient. So protocol was more important than preventing a misunderstanding. Protocol is always important. It keeps classified information classified. It protects operations and operators. If I'd broken protocol to make Lieutenant Commander Hutchins comfortable, I'd have been wrong. But you ended up exposed anyway, so following protocol accomplished nothing except creating a viral incident. Following protocol was correct. The viral incident was created by Captain Morrison's operation, not by my adherence to security regulations. The attorney pulled up a video on the courtroom screen. Victoria recognized it immediately, the training footage Torres had posted. Footage showing her conducting close-quarters combat drills, breach procedures, tactical movements. Commander, this video shows you in action, but it's from 2 years ago, before your injuries. How do we know you could still perform at this level? How do we know you weren't, as Captain Morrison suggested, a liability being kept visible for political reasons? Victoria felt something cold and sharp settle in her chest. You want proof I'm still capable? I want the jury to understand whether Captain Morrison's concerns had any basis in reality. Victoria stood slowly. The bailiff moved forward, uncertain. Judge Richardson raised his hand. Commander Chen, please remain seated. With respect, Sir Defense Counsel is questioning my capabilities. I'd like to demonstrate them. Morrison's attorney looked startled. Your Honor, I don't think... You questioned her capabilities, Martinez interrupted. Let her answer. Richardson considered, then nodded. Proceed, but Commander, nothing that compromises security or safety. Victoria moved to the open area in front of the jury box. Defense Counsel, could you approach? The attorney looked at Morrison, who shrugged. He walked toward Victoria slowly. Stand there, Victoria said, indicating a spot 6 feet away. When I say go, try to stop me from getting past you. I'm not going to assault a witness. You're not going to assault anyone. You're going to try to stop me. There's a difference. Ready. Before he could answer, Victoria moved. Not with the explosive speed of someone in perfect health, but with the calculated efficiency of someone who'd learned to work within limitations. She feinted left, shifted right, used his momentary confusion to slip past him, and was at the judge's bench in under 2 seconds. The courtroom erupted. Morrison's attorney stood there looking foolish. The jury sat forward, suddenly very interested. Victoria returned to the witness stand. My injuries prevent me from carrying full combat load for extended periods. They prevent me from fast roping or high-altitude insertions. But they don't prevent me from thinking tactically, moving efficiently, or applying 8 years of training to any situation. Captain Morrison didn't remove me because I was incapable. He removed me because I represented something he opposed. The attorney recovered quickly. Very theatrical, Commander. But that doesn't address the core issue. The core issue is that Captain Morrison used his position to destroy a fellow operator because of her gender. Everything else is distraction. Richardson called for order. The afternoon session continued with more questions, more challenges, more attempts to find cracks in Victoria's testimony. But she held firm, answering everything with controlled precision. When she was finally dismissed, Park met her in the hallway. That demonstration risky, but effective. Had to show them I'm not broken, that Morrison's justification doesn't hold up. You did. Jury was watching you differently after that. Like they finally saw what you actually are. The trial continued for 6 more days. Torres testified detailing Morrison's recruitment and manipulation. Hutchins testified describing how he'd been used without knowing it. 6 Ghost Unit operators testified about Victoria's service, her sacrifice, her capability, all of them coming out of the shadows to defend one of their own. And through it all, Morrison sat there with that same cold certainty, believing to his core that he'd been right. The closing arguments came on day 7. Martinez went first, methodically laying out evidence testimony timeline, showing beyond doubt that Morrison had orchestrated everything, that his claims of institutional sanction were false, that his operation had cost lives. Then Morrison's attorney stood for his closing. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about more than one man's actions. It's about institutional priorities, about whether we value effectiveness or appearance. Captain Morrison believed, and I would argue correctly, that Commander Chen's continued high-profile presence was creating security risks. Was he wrong to act on those concerns? Perhaps his methods were questionable, but his concerns, those were legitimate. Victoria watched the jury, trying to read their expressions. Some looked convinced by Martinez. Others seemed to be considering defense arguments. The jury deliberated for 11 hours. Victoria spent them in the waiting room, unable to eat, unable to rest, just sitting there while her future hung in balance. Finally, the bailiff called them back. The jury had reached a verdict. Victoria returned to the courtroom with Park. Morrison sat at the defense table, his expression unreadable. The jury filed in their faces, carefully neutral. Has the jury reached a verdict? Richardson asked. We have, Your Honor. The foreman stood. On the charge of unauthorized disclosure of classified information, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to compromise intelligence assets, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of conduct unbecoming an officer, we find the defendant guilty. Victoria felt something release in her chest. Not relief. Something deeper. Validation, maybe. Confirmation that what Morrison had done was wrong, that the system could still identify and punish betrayal. Richardson continued. Captain Morrison, you've been found guilty on all charges. Sentencing will take place in 2 weeks. Until then, you remain in custody. This court is adjourned. Morrison stood as MPs moved to escort him out. For just a second, his eyes met Victoria's. And in that second, she saw no remorse. No regret. Just cold certainty that history would prove him right eventually. Then he was gone, and Victoria was surrounded by people. Park congratulating her, Blackwood, telling her she'd done well, Webb squeezing her shoulder in silent support. But Victoria felt empty. The verdict was right. Morrison would face consequences. Justice had been served. So why did it feel hollow? Outside the courtroom, media waited. Cameras, microphones, reporters shouting questions. Victoria pushed through them without answering Park, running interference until they reached a car and could escape. You should feel good about this, Park said as they drove away. You won. Did I? Morrison's convicted. But his ideology isn't. His beliefs aren't. There are others like him, others who think women don't belong, others who will continue fighting this battle. So you keep fighting back, keep proving them wrong. For how long? How many times do I have to prove I belong before people just accept it? Park was quiet. Then, maybe forever. Maybe that's the cost. But Chen, you're changing things. Every day you serve, every operation you complete, every person you train, you're changing what people believe is possible. Victoria wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe her continued service mattered, that Morrison's conviction meant something, that this whole nightmare had some productive purpose. 2 weeks later, Morrison was sentenced. Dishonorable discharge. Forfeiture of all pay and benefits. 20 years military prison. The judge's words were harsh and uncompromising. Captain Morrison, you betrayed your oath. You betrayed your fellow operators. You betrayed the principles you claim to uphold. Your actions resulted in loss of life and compromised national security. This court has no sympathy for your justifications and no patience for your excuses. You will serve as example of what happens when personal prejudice overrides professional obligation. Hutchins' case was resolved the same day. Reduced rank, formal reprimand, mandatory training on implicit bias and operational security. No discharge. He'd get another chance. Torres received 15 years. Judge acknowledged his manipulation by Morrison, but held him accountable for his choices. It was over. The arrests, the trial, the testimony, all of it, finally over. Victoria stood outside the courthouse, watching Morrison being transported to Leavenworth, watching the media pack up their equipment, watching the circus finally leave town. Catherine appeared beside her. How do you feel? Tired, relieved, angry that it happened at all. That's normal. That's human. Catherine put a hand on Victoria's arm. What happens now? Now I start my new position, training advisor at Coronado. Help develop next generation of operators. You ready for that? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Catherine smiled. That's very you. Doing impossible things because they need doing. 6 months later, Victoria stood in the training observation tower at Naval Special Warfare Center, watching a class of 42 candidates complete Hell Week. 5 women were in that class. All 5 were still standing. Master Chief Webb joined her at the window. Your influence, your example, that's why they're still here. They're still here because they're tough enough. I just showed them it was possible. Same thing. Below, the candidates emerged from the surf zone exhausted and hypothermic, but moving forward. One of the women, Lieutenant Sarah Reeves. The one Victoria had mentored, led her boat crew with steady determination. She's going to make it, Victoria said quietly. Yeah, and when she does, it'll be partly because you proved it could be done. Victoria's phone buzzed. A message from unknown number. She opened it cautiously, still wary after Morrison's operation. Ghost 7. Package requires delivery. Timeline critical. Your expertise requested. The recall code. The emergency signal that Ghost Unit only used when they needed someone who didn't officially exist. Victoria stared at the message for a long moment. She'd told herself she was done. Done with field operations. Done with classified missions. Done with being Ghost. But some obligations didn't end with medical retirement. Some debts could only be paid in the same currency they were incurred. Problem? Webb asked. Victoria showed him the message. He read it, his expression tightening. You don't have to respond. You're retired. You've given enough. Have I? When there are people who need someone with my specific skill set, when declining means someone else might die. Vic, you can't save everyone. No. But I can save whoever this is. And isn't that enough reason? Webb sighed. You know, if you do this, if you go back even temporarily, you're proving you can't let go. That the operator in you is stronger than the person trying to be civilian. Maybe, or maybe I'm proving that service doesn't end when you leave the field, that the watch continues in different ways. Victoria looked at the candidates below, at Reeves leading her boat crew through impossible circumstances, at the future of Naval Special Warfare training in front of her eyes. I'm not going back permanently. Just this once. Just this mission. Then I'm back here training the next generation. That's what they all say. Then I'll be the one who means it. She typed her response. Timeline and exfil details required. Standing by for briefing. The answer came within seconds. Briefing package incoming. Window is 72 hours. Ghost protocols authorized. Victoria pocketed her phone. Below, Hell Week continued. Above, clouds gathered over the Pacific. And somewhere in the world, someone needed a ghost. I'll be back in a week, she told Webb. Cover for me with training command. You're really doing this. I'm really doing this. Then go save whoever needs saving. But Chen, come back. Because those candidates down there, they need you more than you know. Victoria nodded, but she was already mentally shifting to operational mode. planning contingencies, assessing risks, preparing for mission she couldn't decline. Because that's what operators did. They answered when called. They served when needed. They carried weight so others didn't have to. 2 days later, Victoria boarded a transport plane to an undisclosed location. 7 days after that, she returned with 12 operators who'd been trapped behind enemy lines, all of them alive. All of them grateful to the ghost who'd come out of retirement for one more mission. Blackwood met her at the airfield. That was supposed to be advisory role only. It was advisory. I advised them on how to conduct the extraction. Then I advised myself to go with them to make sure it worked. Vic, I know, but they needed someone who could operate in that environment. Someone with my specific experience. Saying no would have meant some of them didn't come home. Victoria met his eyes. I'm back now, I'm done. But I don't regret going. Blackwood studied her face, then nodded slowly. You're never really going to be done, are you? Maybe not completely, but I can be done enough. Done with daily operations. Done with being in the field full time. Not done with serving when it really matters. That's not retirement. No. That's evolution. The mission changes. The commitment doesn't. 3 months later, Sarah Reeves earned her SEAL Trident, becoming one of the first women to complete the full pipeline. Victoria attended the ceremony, standing in the back, watching with quiet pride as a new generation of operators received their insignia. Reeves found her afterward. Commander Chen, I wanted to thank you for the advice during training, for showing it was possible. You did the work, you earned it. But you showed me how. That matters. Reeves hesitated. Can I ask you something? Do you regret it? Everything that happened. The exposure, the trial, all of it. Victoria considered the question seriously. I regret the people who died. I regret Morrison existed. But regret what happened to me, no. Because it led here. To you wearing that trident. To women in this community knowing they belong. To Morrison in prison where he can't hurt anyone else. Was it worth the cost? Ask me again in 10 years when I see how many more women this community produces. Thank you, ma'am. After Reeves left, Webb joined Victoria at the edge of the ceremony area. You did good work here. With her. With all of them. I just showed them what was possible. They did the rest. That's leadership. That's legacy. Webb was quiet for a moment. Morrison wanted to destroy you. Instead, you became exactly what he feared, proof that women belong here. Proof that competence has no gender. Proof that the community is stronger for including everyone who can meet the standard. Victoria watched the new SEALs celebrating with their families, watched the ceremony conclude, watched the future unfold. You know what the real victory is? It's not Morrison in prison. It's not my vindication. It's that 5 years from now, women in special operations won't be remarkable. They'll just be operators. And no one will remember the fight it took to get here. You think so? I hope so. Because that means we won. Not just the trial. The whole war. The sun set over Coronado, painting the sky in gold and red. Victoria stood there with Webb watching the light fade, feeling something like peace settle over her for the first time in months. She'd been arrested for pretending to be what she actually was. She'd been betrayed by someone who wore the same uniform. She'd watched assets die and seen her cover destroyed and testified in front of the world about service she'd never wanted public. But she'd survived. She'd adapted. She'd proven Morrison wrong in every way that mattered. And now, she stood here watching the future she'd helped create, knowing that every woman who earned a trident from this day forward would have a slightly easier path because Victoria had walked it first. That was worth the cost. That was worth the sacrifice. That was worth everything it had taken to get here. Because some battles weren't won with bullets or tactics or operational brilliance. Some battles were won by simply refusing to quit, by standing back up every time someone knocked you down, by proving through sheer persistence that you belonged. Morrison had tried to remove her because he thought women were the problem, but he was wrong. Women weren't the problem. Fear was. Prejudice was. Resistance to change was. And those enemies couldn't be defeated in single operation. They had to be worn down battle by battle, day by day, one small victory at a time. Victoria Chen had spent 8 years as a ghost, serving in silence, protecting people who'd never know her name. And now, she'd spend however many years she had left serving in the light training operators who would carry the mission forward, proving every single day that competence, courage, and commitment mattered more than anything else. Morrison had wanted to destroy her. Instead, he'd made her legendary. He'd given her a platform she'd never wanted and turned her into a symbol she'd never chosen to be. But she'd take that burden. She'd carry that weight. Because that's what operators did. They carried whatever the mission required, whatever service demanded, whatever protecting others cost. The watch never really ended. It just changed forms. And Victoria Chen, Ghost Unit Operator, Navy Cross recipient, the woman they'd arrested for pretending to be exactly what she was, would keep standing watch for as long as she had breath and strength and will. Because some people were born to serve. And no arrest, no betrayal, no operation could ever change that fundamental truth. Morrison learned that the hard way. And everyone who came after him would learn it too. The ghosts didn't disappear when exposed to light. They just became something new, something visible, something undeniable. And Victoria Chen had become proof that trying to destroy someone who refused to be destroyed only made them stronger.